Welcome in, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan. We have baseball today on this radio station. Baseball is officially back. I was shooting the breeze, chewing the fat with a guy at the gas station this morning. He had his Padres hat on. I looked at him. I go, "You ready?" He goes, "I'm ready." I said, "I can't wait." He said, "Me neither." I'm excited. Padres Dodgers today. I know it's preseason. Was looking to see if I could gamble on it this morning. It's not up yet. I mean, you have to be a real degenerate to gamble on spring training baseball, but I'm just glad it's back, man. It just feels right. We are on our third producer of the week, and his name is Adam Klug. I don't know why he's not in the YouTube feed. He's filling in for Paulie today. Adam, where are you, buddy? Are you there?
I'm here. I
You're
don't need
here.
to be on camera.
No, you do need to be on camera. Everyone wants to see that bald dome of yours that is blinding me right now. Look at that, Benny. It is blinding me from over here. Can we get that shade and put it between us? Because it is like, now I know how Don
I've got a
Orsillo
little
feels.
Foundation in my car. I can.
Do you?
Get it.
Will you
Yeah,
go
we
get
can
your
just kinda
foundation, please?
touch him up a little bit.
You have to be on camera, Kluger. We need you.
There he is.
There he is.
I wasn't
Handsome.
planning on it.
It's right up in your grill too. It's right up. You have to. This is part of the Ben and Woods experience. This is what they want. People want to see you. They want to see your facial expressions. Yes, they want to see you. It's great to be here. I'm Woodsy. That is Adam Klug. He is the brand manager for 97.3 The Fan and sometimes producer. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, joins us as well. Benjamin, how are you?
Good morning, Adam. You're looking very sharp, non-tableclothy today.
Yeah. I'd love to get in.
much.
I want to get into your attire at some point today. I did want to ask you, though. Now, it's the last time, Ben, do you remember the last time we had Adam Klug in studio?
Other than the extravaganza.
Correct. Like the last time we had him in studio. Do you remember that day?
I do not.
You don't remember
I
that
think I
day.
remember that day.
Remember, we just come off of Christmas vacation, and Adam came in and wanted to address the audience.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
When he sat right
Not
over
as a
there.
producer,
Yeah,
you're
not as
saying.
producer.
Not as a
but
producer,
Yes.
right.
I remember when he came in and addressed the audience about some changes here at 97.3 The Fan.
Now that was an interesting day, certainly, and it's been an interesting time since. Now, Adam, I wanted to ask you. So we've got a new show, Annie and Elston. You guys know, and they're on right after us every day. Now, have ratings come out yet, Adam? Because I wanted to check with you to see how they're doing. If ratings have come out, have we gotten ratings yet?
We just got our first month of ratings, but I thought we don't talk about ratings.
We
on
did.
the
Now,
air.
hang on though, because the station's in the toilet then, right? Because I was told repeatedly that the station is going to go down in flames. Are we in flames?
No, the station's doing just fine. Better than just fine.
We're doing better than just fine. Okay. I want to check with you because I'm not privy to that info. How are they doing? The new show.
They're doing really, really well.
Are they?
Very happy with them.
That's excellent. That's excellent news. Yeah, I don't get the emails that say how people are doing. So their state, again, just to confirm, station's not in the crapper.
The station is not in the crapper.
Okay. Like we're up at the top, near the top of all stations.
That would be correct.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I'm just, want to keep
In a really slow time where there's no Padres news except for a couple of relievers.
Yeah. It's been a really exciting off season, making something out of nothing, Benjamin, is what we've been doing. Well, it's good to hear. I'm happy for them. I'm glad that they're on the squad and doing so well.
I had no doubt. It was not. I was never worried.
I was
they're
neither.
going to do very well. I listen every day, and they're getting better and better every single day. I like the chemistry. I like the show, and they're doing a fantastic job.
Padre Bot says, Adam Klug looked different in my radio mind. I mean, there's pictures of the guy everywhere. In fact, there was one yesterday that, now who posted that picture yesterday? The afternoon show?
That was Scraby posted that.
Scraby posted it, and they were making fun of Adam for his what was it, like gingham or something? Like a tableclothy looking
Checkered, like ready for a hoedown type shirt.
a little bit. Now, where did you get that shirt?
That was a Banana
Excuse
Republic
shirt.
shirt.
Okay, Banana Republic.
It was like a pink plaid checkered type shirt.
Now, I liked that shirt a lot in 2014. I did. I liked it a ton.
I'm not. I don't even. Is this considered a stray? I'm right here, so I don't even think it's a stray.
No, you're not going
Right
to
to
catch
my
any.
face.
No, you're not going to catch any strays. I won't shoot you in the back, my friend. I'll shoot you right up front.
I'd be complimented if I was within 10 years of the fashion. I think that's actually pretty good to be within 10 years of the current fashion. I'm still wearing my 90s gear, I think, for the most part.
So they posted this picture of you, and you obviously they're giving you grief for the was it the material? Because it's like that paper towel. Now listen, by the way, your boy right here.
Now you're just giving me a hard time about the material.
I had it in pink. I had it in blue. I had it in light blue. I had it in red. I had it in black and white. I had it in every color you could imagine. Is it like the paper towel-y type waffly material?
No, it's just a normal shirt.
Normal shirt. And I think you caught a lot of grief for your jeans, too. I saw you getting worn out for your jeans as well.
Mr. Foster gave me a hard time.
Our pal Foster. I mean, by the way, fashion maven himself, Chris Foster, our hillbilly buddy. He's no Tom Ford either. But why do you think they were giving you such a hard time yesterday? I mean, it's pretty typical.
They just said that my shirt looked like it was a tablecloth. And I said if it were red instead of pink, it would look like it was in an Italian restaurant, I thought.
It's pretty.
But I don't think pink tablecloths we're not where I'm eating.
Well, it's very it's very like program director, manager wear. Have you embraced this look yet? The 3/4 zip. We bought you one.
I have plenty of 3/4 zips.
Okay. Now we bought you one.
Actually, quarter zip, not 3/4 zip.
Sorry, quarter zip.
That'd be weird.
Yeah, 3/4 zip would be very weird. That would be like Luke Voigt would wear like a 3/4
start a
zip.
new style there, Woods.
Right here. Now, but the jeans is something I wanted to ask you about because the shirt I like. I probably own the exact same one. The jeans to me are a bit not informal. We wear sweatpants here, right? But like jeans. Why haven't you invested in some nice pants from like Lulu?
What was wrong with his jeans, though?
Well, they were a bit oversized. They were a bit kind of like baggy.
Were the jeans oversized, or is Adam just a little undersized?
Well, he's a little bub, dude. Yeah. You know that. But did you get those at Baby Gap?
No.
Where'd you get them?
I have a hard time finding jeans that fit me well.
Old Navy?
No, I don't remember where those. I think those may have been Banana Republic as well. I don't know. I do have plenty of jeans that fit, depending on when you bought them, how old they were. I had lost weight at some point. I don't know.
Fashion's not. It doesn't. You don't think about it very much.
Does it look like I do?
I mean, you don't look bad. You never look bad. You never look slovenly. We look slovenly at times. I'm dressed up today. I've got an MC an event today. Master of ceremonies at the groundbreaking for the new SEALs practice facility. So this is as dressed up as I get. A collared shirt and a quarter zip.
I wear a collared shirt almost every day.
You do. That's fair. Now, the denim though, shouldn't we have moved past denim?
In what regards?
Like
you
maybe
don't wear jeans anymore?
Yeah, just get maybe some nice pants like these that I have on. Ben has a few pair of these. Paulie's got some of the ABC pants, maybe from Lulu.
Are you saying all people move
those?
Past
Are those nicer, or are they just more comfortable?
I think both.
I think they're more comfortable.
Well, I wouldn't know.
I think they're more casual than jeans, though.
Absolutely not. These look like I could wear these to a nightclub. I could wear them to play golf.
I would say any pants that don't have a elastic waistband and don't have like buttons and
do you think jeans are formal?
They're not formal, but I think they're fancier than any. I mean, those are basically nice sweatpants.
But they're not. They have a button.
Oh, yours have a button.
Of course they do. They have a button. These are the ABCs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I have similar ones, but they don't have a button.
Well, I've got those too.
Okay.
Those are the sweatpants.
Yeah.
These are the ones that you can wear. You can play golf in them. You can go to a board meeting, go to a nightclub. You can do whatever you want in them. So I think maybe for Christmas next year, we'll get him. What are you, about a 26, 24? We'll get you a pair next year for Christmas because we got you the Lulu last year.
I've got a question. Does anyone around the office still wear a coat and tie anymore?
That's a good question. Don't you?
There are a couple of the sales reps who do.
Do they?
Michael occasionally will, the big boss.
Well, if he has like a meeting or something.
Do you feel pressured that you have to dress up if your boss dresses up in a coat and tie? You feel underdressed?
Do you guys feel pressure to dress up nicer than you do because I wear a collared shirt?
No. But again, we start our day at very, very early, and I don't think the rules necessarily
apply to us.
Apply to us. At least I've always said that in my own mind. I know things have gotten much more casual in the office since the pandemic. People just don't dress up. I stopped wearing ties on TV after the pandemic.
Did you really?
I used to wear ties every single day on television. Now I just go button-down shirt and a sport coat. I do not put on a tie every single day. It seems silly. Like no one else is wearing ties when they go to the office.
How'd you like to tie me up with some of your ties?
Why do I have to wear a tie when I go to the office? Ties
are the most useless form of when I had to wear a suit and tie every day. It was you feel cool for about 4 seconds, and then you walk to the car and you're dripping sweat. Then you have to hang your suit jacket up and you're choking to death driving into work. Then you get out, you got to redo the tie, you got to put the coat back on. Then you got to walk in the office, you're pouring sweat. Then you take the coat off, you hang it on the back of your chair or hang it up in your cube, and then you make phone calls. I'm in a suit.
Aren't ties essentially from like before they knew how to make shirts correctly that could fit your neck, so that held your shirt together?
Is that
That's
why they did?
had it tied.
What, they did not have, they couldn't put one extra button up there?
They couldn't figure out how to make the buttons work right, so you had to have a tie.
Is that why they invented ties?
Keep the neck together on the top of the shirt.
I mean, I'll wear it. It's fun once a year to put on a suit and tie. I like the suit no tie. That's my favorite look, but it's not comfortable. When I started working with the SEALs doing the PA for them, they're like, hey, we want everybody suited and booted. I'm like, all right. So I bought a nice suit, and then I bought another nice suit. And so I would rotate those in. I'm down there in the penalty box at a lacrosse game in a suit. And I finally said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm not comfortable. I'm pouring sweat. I got to dry clean all this stuff. I'm over it.
You've got some stinky, penalized lacrosse player sitting right next to you half the game.
Hey, F you! I'm like, all right, man. There he is. Adam's in there. Put the picture up in the chat of, I mean, I think you look good. You look trim. That's one thing you do look very trim. I wish I was as trim as he was. We are not super trim.
How did you lose all the weight?
Yeah, how did you lose all the weight? You're very disciplined.
SD fat loss.
SD fat loss. Of
You've
course.
never needed it. I can assure everybody that Adam has not needed their services.
What are you weighing in now? About, let me guess, 150.
150, 152.
Bench press. Can I bench press you? That'd be fun.
That'd
be a fun.
That might be a viral video.
That could be a viral video. Yeah, you look
need
good.
Me to spot you?
He looks good in this picture. I'm not saying like he looks good in that picture. The jeans are just a little bit. You're so trim. It might be better if they were a little bit more form fitting, or maybe some black pants would look better.
I get it. There's a little bit of the picnic table vibe going to the shirt, but it's fine. It's a good shirt.
Well, they're breaking his balls. Did you now? You like Banana Republic, and I heard a rumor about you. By the way, it filtered its way back to me. Now, have you ever worked at Banana Republic? Because I did. I worked at Banana Republic for a while.
No, my first job when I was in high school, I worked at Old Navy, which is the same company as Banana Republic.
Yes. What was your it's the clothes are already inexpensive. What was your discount? Like, hey, you can get all of these shirts, 14 shirts for $12.
I believe it was if I remember correctly, it was a 20% discount, and you could use it at Old Navy, Gap, or Banana Republic. So maybe I bought these jeans back when I was in high school.
Potentially.
I'm kidding. They're not that old.
What was your title at Old Navy?
So here's the this is a little bit ironic considering people are giving me flack for my jeans. After working at Old Navy for a year or so, I got promoted to a title. It's a little embarrassing, but we're here for the show. They promoted me to denim expert. I was Old Navy's denim expert.
The old DE, the denim expert.
It's true. I'm not making that up.
So if we needed to know the difference between like acid wash.
Don't make me laugh, dude. I will cough up a lung.
You're all complicit in the A's moving from Oakland to Las Vegas, since that's where the Fishers got all their money was from the Gap, and then gave it to their kid who's now moving the baseball team out of town. And it's on your labor of Old Navy, Gap, Banana Republic that the A's are allowed to move their team to Las Vegas. I hope you feel good about yourself.
I think my wife just nailed it. Adam truly has BDE, big denim energy. He does. That is true. Well, thank you guys for being here with us this morning. We will set the menu for you next as Paulie, our little guy, still getting healthy. Need him right, man. Need him right for Monday. Don't really care about today or tomorrow. Not that I don't care, but, I don't want him to be sick and bring in more sickness. There's enough sickness in this place as it is. But great to be here with you guys. And it's anytime you get a denim expert on the show, you have to take that chance. So our boss, Adam Klug, joins us as well. We'll have some fun today.
Denim Radio continuing until 10 o'clock this morning. Let's get a check of traffic with Kelly Danick, and we are off and running on the first game day of the spring for your San Diego Padres here on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back.
All right. Oh, no.
He also appears to be the healthiest he's been in 2 years, and he's one of the better putters on tour.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. GEGE 000-466.
Ben Woods and the denim expert here this morning talking about 7 Mile Casino. It is Thursday, which means the weekend is fast approaching. If you haven't made some plans yet for the weekend, I suggest you could head out to 7 Mile Casino on a Saturday or Sunday for their award-winning brunch at Sammy's, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., best in South County. The menu items are incredible. And then stick around to find out what we've been talking about for the last, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Why 7 Mile Casino is the best.
Yeah, there's no
Be remiss if I didn't offer a little shout out to Eddie at the Craft Taco yesterday.
Oh, my
Woods and I
God.
went and had our first lunch down there in Sorrento Valley. Fantastic spot. And the food was divine. I mean, it really was some of the best tacos I have had, with the fresh blue corn tortillas that they're making right there in-house. They were the best blue corn tortillas I've had in my life.
Buddy, it was such a fun experience, too, because they did the thing where, you know, they're a sponsor of the station and the show now, and they reached out to us and said, we love your show. We listen every day. We're huge Padres fans. So I passed it on to a sales rep, and they went and closed the deal, and he said, I'd love to have you guys by for lunch. And Benny and I went in yesterday, and we sat down. He goes, here's our menu. This is what I recommend, but just let me bring you some stuff. And we said, okay. And the dude started rolling out, and he brought a little guac out, and it was great. Like fresh, delicious. Everything was super fresh and tasty. And then the tacos started coming. And he's like, try this one. Now have a bite of this one. It was like a food orgy. Ben and I sitting there. We were kind of like Lady and the Tramp almost, sharing tacos right next to each other. I'm the tramp, and you're the lady.
Fine.
And we were crushing these things. Now,
let's see. I love the Cochinita Pibil. Was fantastic.
Incredible.
We had the surf and turf.
Yep, surf and turf
was really good.
The California burrito that they do, that's ungodly.
Which, if you like burritos, it was one of the better versions of a California burrito I've had.
I told my missus this morning, I like a fish taco from time to time, but sometimes you get it and you're like, it's kind of thick and breaded. It was the most fresh fish I've ever bitten into. It was incredible. It's right over there in Sorrento Valley. It's kind of in a business park place. I'm telling you, if you got to go 5 minutes out of your way for it, it's ridiculously worth it. I felt like Anthony Bourdain in there yesterday with you, like,
and
just
it's the craft
sampling
tacos.
things.
So they had a couple of kicked up. They had the pokey taco, and they had the Korean bulgogi beef marinated taco.
Oh my God!
And we tried them all. They were fantastic.
So this is a thing that my dad used to do when I was young. My dad would come home from work, and my mom would say, do you want something for dinner? And he'd go, no, I had a big lunch. And I always thought in my mind, that's a myth. No one has a big enough lunch that you can't eat dinner. No one.
That was 6 hours ago.
It's never happened.
You can eat again.
We went in at 12:30.
Yep.
I had no dinner. I was like, I'm absolutely stuffed and so satiated that everything else is going to be, second tier compared to what we had yesterday. So if you get a chance to go over there and get some lunch or dinner, they're open on the weekends too till 8, 9 o'clock. Check them out. Craft Taco. They are unbelievable.
Coming up on the show today, Sammy Levitt continues to do outstanding work out at spring training. And in the last 24 hours or so, he dropped 2 interviews with, now the right side of the San Diego Padres infield, Jake Cronenworth, and new second baseman Xander Bogaerts. Get some of their thoughts on the offseason, the position change for Xander, how it's going the first few days. So we're going to bring you some of that audio starting with Jake coming up in our next segment. Also, reading about just kind of the latest on AJ Preller and where the roster stands. You keep hearing the hints like, hey, we're not done yet. Be very surprised if there wasn't a move. When are the moves coming? What is the move going to be? And I think there was a bit of a hint dropped yesterday. I've got a theory now as to what the Padres' plan here is for the next 3 or 4 weeks before they start the actual season, and when an addition might actually happen at this point. So we can talk about that coming up.
Sometimes when you float a theory, I think sometimes it's wishful thinking. And then sometimes, like your Roki Sasaki theory, I love that theory. Even Craig has subscribed to that theory. I love the Roki Sasaki theory that they are going to make a full run for him next offseason, the international bonus money and all that. And I think we're in a good position to land a guy like that. I love that theory. I'm subscribing to that theory like it's my religion. Sometimes you float a theory and I'm like, oh, it's a complete crap. This one, though, I'm also bought in on it. And when you explained it to me this morning, I said, that makes a lot of sense to me.
So we'll discuss that coming up as the Padres get ready for their first game. 12:10 today here on 97.3 The Fan with Jesse and Tony. We know that Jake, Joe's going to pitch 1 inning.
Yeah.
And then
surprised if Jake goes.
It's probably not going to be
Probably
Jake.
not going to be him.
not going to the position player in the first game. They get a lot of bullpen guys they want to get in. That's one of the reasons Mike Schilt said yesterday that Michael King is not pitching today. He threw a live BP session instead yesterday, simply because they have so many bullpen guys they want to get some work as well, that they decided to keep Michael King on his regular schedule and just have him throw yesterday. But we'll see Joe out there today against the LA Dodgers, and you can hear it right here on 97.3 The Fan coming up at 12:10. It's a Throwback Thursday, so in our 7 o'clock segment, we'll play a little Real or Fake, try to qualify someone for the trip to Las Vegas, and you don't need to even beat Woods in musical trivia today. We'll have our Real or Fake. It's actually Padres themed today in honor of the first game of the spring, so that's coming up at 7:10. Don't do this at 7:20. At 7:35, our pal Bryce Miller from the Union Tribune went out to Spring Training Media Day, where he sat down and got a little more information from the former manager of the San Diego Padres, Bob Melvin, now manager of the San Francisco Giants, on how his exit kind of played out, some new comments, some, I think, introspection from Bob that Bryce was able to elicit. The old, I wasn't completely blameless in this situation.
Yeah,
in hindsight, from Bob Melvin. That
I like
AJ Preller may be difficult to work with. No one's necessarily disputing that, but Bob was also, I could have handled myself quite a bit better last season. I may not have pushed the right buttons for that team. I may have waited too long to hit the proverbial panic button because I thought everything was going to be fine. So some interesting comments, and Bryce can share a little bit more on his conversation with Bob Melvin that he had earlier this week out in Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to Bryce. I love Bryce, and Bryce does a great job. It was a great article yesterday, so we'll get into that certainly. Yeah, man, I just feel so good because baseball is back, and I know that it's a spring training game, but it's just to see the guys out on the field, and now you make sure that everybody gets through it healthy and gets all their work in. And I'm really, really excited to get out there next week too. I'm kind of chomping at the bit for that. This is the longest I think we've ever waited to get out there. So we're kind of a wreck. I'm a wreck in here. I'm very excited.
Second half of the show, Tier 1 Tour continues. We'll take a look at the Chicago Cubs as we flip back to the National League, getting to the Central. That means we're working our way across the country. And then Sammy will join us a little bit later after Bryce Miller,
God.
Bob Melvin. Mike Schilt is the name of the new Padres manager after he speaks today. So we'll get the update on what's going on this morning at Padres spring training. So that's at 9 o'clock. Until then, though, it is me, it is Woods, it is Adam Klug. We'll come back. I can forget the name of the Padres manager once or twice, right?
We got to get him under control, man. He's losing it already.
We'll hear from Jake Cronenworth, though, his conversation with Sam Levitt, some of the audio from a very introspective and open chat between the two yesterday. Coming up next with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Before we get to Sammy's interview with Jake Cronenworth, let me just throw my new theory out.
Love this theory.
Padres theories from Ben Higgins this morning on 97.3 The Fan. And this comes from Kevin Acey did a piece on the open jobs going into Cactus League play, the outfield spots, the pitching rotation spots that are going to be up for grabs. And the talk that we've heard a number of times, both from inside the Padres organization and from insiders, that there are still likely moves coming. Trade talks are ongoing. Free agent discussions remain active between the Padres and some of the myriad players who are still out there. And there's a lot of players who are still out there right now. I mean, it stands to reason with the number of major league players who remain free agents, beyond just the Boris 4. There's a good 15 to 25 guys that remain unsigned who are legitimate major leaguers. Maybe not impact players.
I'll give you some.
Give me some of the list of the guys who are still unsigned free agents here, not just at the start of spring training, but the start of actual games in spring training that have not joined a team yet.
You keep vamping,
all right,
and I'll pull it up.
But with that number of players out there now, a lot of teams are still in the market for some free agents, but not every team is still shopping actively for players. So you got 29 other teams. These guys will all land somewhere before the start of the season. None of them wants to just be jobless for the year. At some point, they're going to have to go, I guess this is the best offer I'm going to get, and they're going to take a job, or they're going to sit out the season, which I don't see guys. I mean, they're baseball players. It's better to make money playing baseball than it is to simply sit around and do nothing all year.
Build a new addition onto your home if you're Jordan Montgomery.
So they will sign. There are only limited number of teams that are interested. The Padres almost by default will land someone that needs a job at some point. But beyond that, A.J. Preller had a quote in the piece in the UT this morning, and he said, I don't think it's about getting to a number, like a roster number of guys that we need to sign. I think we have some guys in camp that we really like. We've heard this refrain many times, and that we're going to see how they play out and how they fit the team. And then we'll keep looking to see what else is out there to add to the team for sure. But it's not like, hey, we need one more bat. We're going to play 9. I think that's going to happen. It's going to be some opportunity for younger players and some guys getting some chances. So when I hear that, and it's not that different from what we've heard from A.J. Preller before, kind of started in my mind going, he wants to know what he's got before he makes his decision. Like you're playing Texas Hold'em at 7 Mile Casino. You look at your hand and then, you try to build on your strengths. Hey, I've got an ace and a king. Maybe I'll draw some more good cards. If you don't have a good hand, you have to sign more cards. If nothing pans out this spring, if Jackson Merrill doesn't look like he's ready, Jacob Marcy doesn't look like he's ready, then he's going to have to go out and sign outfielders. But if one or both of those guys go out and earn jobs, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go sign an outfielder right now who you're not going to need. Conversely, if the pitching staff looks like no one's stepping up or there's an injury or two, he may want to devote those resources in a couple of weeks to add to the pitching staff rather than the outfield. He's trying to target what his biggest need is, and he doesn't know what it is at this point.
That's a good point. I mean, I think that's a fair assumption right now. And again, like, I think the thing that makes Padre fans a little bit nervous is because you just said it. And look, I mean, is that a complete fallacy to say, no, we're going to see how Marcy and Merrill do, and if they do well, they're on the team? Like that doesn't. I don't know that you can say, oh yeah, this makes sense. Neither of those guys really. I mean, Merrill maybe, but certainly not Marcy, have been projected as knocking down the door of the big leagues right now. Merrill's played in AA, some games. Marcy is not, I don't think. So he fall league MVP. We know all that. But does that give you a great sense of calm? Like, oh, they made the team, so they're on it.
I mean, there's still plenty to worry about. You could lose guys that you're interested in if you don't act too, quickly enough.
One guy came off the market last night in Hyun Jin Ryu, he signed with a team in the KBO for 8 years and 12 billion won. It's good money.
It is
12 billion won. It's the equivalent of how much?
I don't know the exchange rate currently, but I did see the signing, which means that's one less pitcher that's available if A.J. Preller needs pitching help. So I think your point is if Jackson Merrill makes the team, he needs to play.
Correct.
He needs to play. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to go out and sign an $8 million outfielder right now if you're going to be giving those reps to Jackson Merrill in the outfield. But if Jackson Merrill doesn't make the team, you may want to invest more in your outfield than you were planning on doing so perhaps here on February 22nd. And conversely, the same thing with the pitching. If Brito and Vasquez, both look great, or Iriarte steps up and takes one of those rotation spots, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go out and sign a pitcher who's not even going to make your starting rotation because you've already filled it. You should devote and put that money toward the lineup, toward the outfield, maybe signing a designated hitter. But if you need pitching, you may have to go on the cheap on the outfield and put more money toward a pitcher at that point.
And I guess at this point, if you're not absolutely in love with Michael A. Taylor or Adam Duvall or CJ Crone or Tim Anderson, and why would you be? Or Michael Lorenzen or Mike Clevenger, guys of that ilk, if you're not absolutely in love with them and think, no, man, and Brandon, there's some, though, that just make too much sense. Like Brandon Belt makes way too much sense. He actually had a pretty good year last year. I don't think he's going to cost a ton of money. You'd hate to get to that point and be like, man, we still need a DH, and Brandon Belt's gone. Somebody like that. Eddie Rosario's another one. We've talked about these ad nauseum. JD Martinez, still unsigned as well. Obviously,
but are any one of those guys, can you say for sure, I want that guy over the other two? Or if one of them's available in 3 weeks and still unsigned, you're okay with any one of those three being added to the team and being a DH.
I know he's right-handed, but he is a pure hitter, and it's JD Martinez. He is a pure hitter and a DH. You don't ever have to worry about. Now, the problem is, what if you need to get Manny off his feet, or what if you need to get Xander off his feet, whatever. So JD Martinez is going to sit. I'm sure he could play some first base in a pinch if he had to. But yeah, you figure it out. He's a pure hitter. He's a good hitter. I know he's right-handed. I don't think he's going to cost a ton of money. I'm reading anywhere between 7 and 8, 9, 10 million bucks. It's a 1-year deal. It's a stopgap.
But if you did that today,
it's not taking playing time away from anybody.
But if you did that today and then you found out, we need another starting pitcher, you may not be able to afford it and, follow through on your plan to get under the luxury tax and everything else.
What if you ended up needing both?
Well, that's the worrisome scenario.
There's the rub.
And I think AJ's hoping that at least a few guys step up in spring training where he doesn't feel like everything is still a hole in a couple of weeks that needs to be filled. He's really counting on some of those spots being filled internally, and then he's going to go out and use whatever remaining money he has or trade to fill those other spots that he felt like, I don't think anyone really stepped up this spring. I need to go outside the organization and find someone else. So
and again, like I said, if you're not madly in love with a guy that's out there right now, so I feel like the waiting game is fine. It's not exactly what we want. It's not exactly what the fans want. We're a little bit more on edge about it. Brandon did say in the chat too. I was watching the exact same special he was watching last night on MLB Network. Dan Plesac, those guys talking about the Padres. Everyone on that panel was basically like, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be better this year. I think the expectations are off. They're all kind of buying into that as well. So we'll see, man. I know that's exactly what AJ Preller wants to hear.
All right, we got a couple of clips from Jake Cronenworth's conversation with Sam Levitt. We'll get to those right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Tannick.
Start to see the usual slowing in the usual spots. Good morning, West 52, heading out of Santee. But yeah, no incidents or accidents getting in your way at this time. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Said it before, I'll stand by it. There's no more pivotal player to the San Diego Padres this year than Jake Cronenworth. They need him to bounce back, not simply for his general production, but the fact that he is the left-handed option right now, and the Padres are very vulnerable. If Jake doesn't have a decent offensive season, they're right-handed and they're less deep than they really need to be in the lineup. So Jake is a key player. Sammy knows this, so he went and found Jake, who's always generous with his time with us and with the station. They were standing right outside the Padres clubhouse there by the pitching mounds, the batting cages, and a little bit of conversation with Jake Cronenworth and our own Sam Levitt.
How do you like San Diego just as a whole? I mean, it seems like you love it.
Yeah, I love San Diego. I mean,
getting traded over in 20, and obviously didn't really know what to expect. A little older of a player, and outside of the baseball part, just the city, what it has, what it provides, the food, the culture, the fans at the stadium. Like, I don't think there's a better place to play in baseball.
It would seem to me, I mean, it feels like we don't talk about it a lot because there's focus on the play on the field, there's focus on money, the contracts, all of it. But being in a place you really like and as pretty and wonderful as San Diego is, like day to day, that could make a really big difference.
Man, I think it's a great way to put it. Like I said, man, I don't think there's a better place from the city of San Diego, the weather, the beach, the ocean, the military's there. You got all this stuff going on. The stadium's right downtown. The fans, everything involved just makes it such an attractive place. And when you're there and you really get to enjoy it, it's one of a kind.
Going off how you feel about the city and the fans, I mean, what would it mean to you personally if it's this year, if it's at some point during this contract, this group was able to bring that championship to that city? Yeah,
I mean, you can see I'm getting chills right now. Obviously that's the main goal for all of us. And, we're the only team in town. I know we got some other sports teams as well, but, I feel like the city kind of, ebbs and flows with us. And, I don't think a lot of players realize that, but, to kind of feel that from the fan base, like they're living it as much as we are, and to hopefully bring that first championship to a city, especially a city like San Diego that's so close, that day's going to be special.
So what I learned in that 2 minutes is something I already knew. Is Jake gets it. He gets it. He didn't give any revealing answers in terms of strategy or anything like that. But at the very least, Jake understands the relationship between the Padres, the fans, and the city of San Diego, and why it's important to be here. And quite frankly, Woods, not every ball player understands that.
No, I mean, we talked about one yesterday that I don't want to rail on the guy, but my God, I saw yesterday some accolades pouring in for Eric Hosmer. He announced his new podcast. We played a little clip of it yesterday, and then I'm seeing even this morning Bob Kendrick, who I absolutely adore. He runs the Negro League Museum in Kansas City. We've had him on the air before. I mean, the accolades pouring in from Kansas City about Eric Hosmer and what he did for the community and the fans, and he brought them a ring and 2 World Series appearances, been through the roof. Not a word in San Diego, really. Not a word. The Padres didn't tweet anything out. It just, most fans were like, all right, bro, be gone at this point. The legacy of these guys is important, and I think it's important to Jake Cronenworth. And I know, it's funny. Like I've been trying to think of a delicate way to ask him the question of, you went from the literal hero of San Diego, the Dragon Slayer of San Diego, in 6 months later, everyone's calling for you to be traded and saying your contracts. Like, how does that feel? But I don't want to point blank ask him that. Maybe I will.
Well, Sammy kind of gets into it a little bit. It doesn't matter how much you get it and how much you love San Diego.
You got to produce.
If you can't produce on the field. So they got into a little bit more of the baseball aspect of Jake's upcoming season as well.
Obviously, last season, you described it earlier this spring, not exactly what you wanted, and it was an interesting year for you. You signed the new contract, had the season. You also moved over to first base. When you look back on it now, you've had some time to reflect, I'm sure. How do you sum up last year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's some disappointment in there, but also a learning experience. This game's not easy, and anytime you can learn, obviously you don't want to learn through the hard parts, right. But that's part of it. And like I said, going into the off season, after coming off the wrist injury, but that last month and a half, 2 months really turned it around and kind of started playing the way I could play, and just learning and trying to grow as a player and a leader on the team, and coming to spring training with the mindset and a goal in mind.
First time we heard from you this spring, you used the word vulnerable, which I thought was a really interesting word. Can you dive into that mindset you took into the off season of being quote unquote vulnerable?
Yeah. It's, you want to put yourself in a situation to learn. And sometimes you need to take your guard down and, leave your ego at the door and go and, just try to take in as much knowledge about yourself and about what other players do really well, and try to apply it to yourself, and kind of that word, be vulnerable in those situations, and have the ability to learn and grow and get better.
It's my same philosophy for this year. Remember my philosophy? Do you remember what I said when we came back?
Be vulnerable.
No. What did I want to be this year? Do you remember?
You wanted to be learning,
A
questioning.
vessel for learning. I don't know everything. I don't know anything. I want to learn as much as I can about myself, about this business, baseball. I mean, that's really a really good mindset. Now, again, you still got to put bat to ball in the situations we need you to do it. You still need to pick the balls at first base. You still need to, swipe bags and drive in runs and all the things that they pay you to do. But he's off on the right foot at least.
I mean, the argument you make, if you want to be an optimist, is Jake Cronenworth actually was playing good baseball at the end of his season, which was kind of mid-August when he took the pitch off the wrist, and that was it for him. But the previous month and a half or so, he was putting up more than adequate numbers that would have been terrific over the course of a season. And the question is, did he figure something out? Was there something that he can tangibly take from last season into this year, or is he going back to kind of square one and starting over and trying to figure it out again this year? We'll start finding out maybe later today.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's
today
in the lineup, but we'll start finding out what Jake we're going to get here in 2024 and what he was able to carry over and what he was able to leave behind is sometimes just as important as what you're able to carry over from the previous season.
Probably way more important is leaving that stuff at the door, and everyone's got a clean slate now.
He'll also be working with a new other half of the right side of the infield this year in Xander Bogaerts. Coming up later in our 8:35 segment, we'll hear from Sammy's interview with Xander yesterday and a couple of clips, just doing incredible content every single day for us out there at Padres Spring Training. You got to be following on all the social channels and at 97.3 The Fan SD on our X account, our Instagram, YouTube. It's all there for your perusal. All right, we'll come back. Padres did one of those AJ moves yesterday. Plus, we'll play a little real or fake, chance to qualify for Las Vegas. Coming up next here on Ben and Woods on The Fan.
How you doing over there, Kluger?
Doing fantastic.
It's a lot. We got Ben and Woods here, and Adam Klug is filling in for Paulie Reindl. Do you have a newfound respect for Paulie Reindl and what he's able to do throughout the show?
Wait, boss answer. I always respect the work that Paul did.
I was about to say no because I know how much he does.
And oftentimes you'll be texting him in the middle of the show for other things, which is crazy. Now you see all the things that he has to do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Clip this segment for a promo, Adam.
Yeah, clip this
right now.
I want
we'll
that.
Just put that
Save
in.
that, please. Just wear them
I
out.
already sent an air check to our sales.
Look at you. All right.
Amazing.
Okay.
All right. So AJ made a very AJ move yesterday, and this was not a surprise if you've been paying attention. Saw this one coming. Padres spent most of their international bonus money last month on Leo De Vries, the shortstop, but they had also talked about signing this 17-year-old pitcher out of Mexico, supposedly the top teenage arm in all of Mexico, affiliated with the Rojos Diablos, the Red Devils of Mexico City, who, of course, the Padres have a very close relationship due to the ownership, people, sharing ownership of that team and the San Diego Padres. But because they spent so much money on De Vries, they didn't really have the money left over to sign Humberto Cruz. So in the last week or so, AJ dealt a couple of very young, low-level prospects for other teams' bonus money.
Wheeling and dealing, buddy.
$750,000 of bonus money, which was then committed yesterday to Humberto Cruz to make that signing official. So now the Padres class, which also has you can sign other players for under $10,000. They don't count against it, but the big names of this class will be Leo De Vries and Humberto Cruz. One position player, one pitcher, neither likely to see the major leagues for several years. If everything goes well, that would be the best case scenario, but got their 2 targets, landed their 2 targets in the international market. I would imagine at this point, Padres are going to be pretty quiet. It's just going to be the lower level signings, but they did get the 2 guys they were looking for in the international market.
Always nice to get your hit your target.
Yeah. Fastball 90 to 94, which of course is not anything to write home about
He's
in Major
17,
League Baseball, but he's 17 years old.
Throws a lot of strikes is what I read as well. Pounds the zone. So yeah, I mean, 17 years old, throwing 90 to 94. You can add a couple of ticks on that in a few years.
That's got to be the hardest part of the job. And AJ gets a lot of praise for his talent evaluation. But it's hard enough to evaluate guys who played in the major leagues last year and faced major league talent.
Really hard.
All right, can Matt Carpenter do it again this year? And you've got to make those decisions. Can Nelson Cruz have one more good year? Those weren't particularly good decisions by AJ. That should be easy, at least, compared to this. When you're talking about scouting 16 and 17-year-olds, you're not just looking at, look at that guy and he knows what he's doing. You have to imagine what their body type is going to be. How much was he did he grow young and he's already pretty much at his full size, or is he still going to spring up and this guy's got 2 or 3 more inches and he's going to add a lot of muscle? You've got to be able to project that. The skills that you think they're going to add. I mean, yeah, he doesn't hit a lot of power now, but I think when he's 21, guy could be a 25, 30 home run hitter. It's all kind of projections and dreams and imagining. Is this guy going to end up throwing 97, 98, or is he going to top out at 95? That's a pretty big difference when it comes to Major League Baseball, and you got to kind of imagine on it and hopefully be right more than you're wrong in some of these evaluations.
Yeah, and listen, when it comes to the international bonus money, AJ did a good job years ago in collecting a lot of the guys that they wanted, the Morahones, the Michel Baez. I was just actually reading something on Michel Baez. It's a bummer that he didn't hit for the San Diego Padres. You know what I'm saying? He was lauded across baseball as almost one of those can't miss guys, but we know it very well here in San Diego. It's really a numbers game, right, Benny? Try to collect as many of those guys as you can for as cheaply as you can, I guess, with your international bonus pool money, and then hope that one of them gets there. Morahone is going to get another look this year. I haven't heard much about him out at camp this year. We'll take a look at him next week when we're out there. But, 5 years going to spring training, we've seen him out there every year, and every year the gloves popping. So at some point, one of these guys needs to hit, and you keep your nose down and keep collecting these dudes as much as you can. But Baez is one of those that no one thought he wouldn't make it and make it big in the big leagues. He was consensus across the board, one of the best prospects.
Need a contestant for real or fake? This is your chance to qualify for a trip to Las Vegas, concert tickets to Air Supply. Call us right now. The phone lines are open, 833-288-0973. Get in now. We'll play our game here in a couple of minutes, 833-288-0973. Stand by. Real or fake on the way here on a Throwback Thursday. Of course, we're now less than 5 hours away from the first game of the Cactus League schedule is the Padres and the Dodgers. 12:10 first pitch, 12 o'clock coverage here on 97.3 The Fan. Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr., who I understand is en route to the Peoria Sports Complex.
He is living a little dangerously.
I think so.
I
think so. Now, I understand why he had
me too.
One of his daughter's games he wanted to stick around for. He's going to be gone for a month, so you want to maximize the time with family, but he is now making that somewhat dicey drive from San Diego to Peoria to step right into the broadcast booth.
I'm so nervous for him.
See, now the luxury for Tony is he knows enough about the Padres. He can walk right in. Jesse's done a ton of prep. He's going to be absolutely fine. Even if he arrives 1 minute before the broadcast, Tony will be just fine. It's not going to affect his work performance, the quality of the broadcast at all. He might be hungry if he didn't have time to stop for like a lunch or something, but he will be fine on the broadcast today.
So we're going to talk to him what time? 8
o'clock.
8 o'clock.
He's going to join us. We just found out he's going to check in, I guess, from the road on his way to Peoria. So we'll get the first here for the first Padres broadcaster of the season here this morning.
Holy
on Ben and
smokes.
Woods.
I'm telling you, that's the first thing I'm going to ask him. Like, are you out of your mind? You like, I'm 2 hours early to everywhere I go, and I end up sitting in the car and just waiting. But he's really pushing the envelope here. I'm very nervous for him.
Don't get a ticket. Like he
don't
gets
get a ticket. Don't get a flat tire.
He may not make it.
Oh my God!
Don't run out of gas. Probably don't have time for the Dateland shake.
Yeah,
on the way.
Can't stop at the center of the universe.
No,
and take
like
a little
Woods
walk
and
around.
Paul like to do.
Yeah.
Calexico. No detour for Calexico birria tacos.
Straight through.
Like Sammy. He's got to do the old straight through.
Oh my Lord!
And make it there. Now, Degenerate Gambler co-host over here. Did you find somewhere where you could bet on today's game?
Yeah, I took the Padres even money.
You're not getting any odds or anything.
Even money.
Who's going for the Dodgers? We know Joe has got an inning in him for the Padres, apparently.
Gavin Stone.
Stone.
One of their. He's been in the bigs.
And they're not bringing Shohei Ohtani, not bringing Yoshinobu Yamamoto to Peoria today. I don't know how many regulars. Usually you're supposed to bring 4 regulars.
Is that right? That's the rule.
That's kind of the official rule of spring training. You got to bring 4 regulars with you. But yeah, the Dodgers will, I'm sure, travel. Everyone's excited for that first game, though. So Ohtani said he wants to get about 50 ABs in spring training, but that includes like live BP sessions, and he's already had a few of them. So you're not going to see a ton, I'd imagine, of Shohei Ohtani in any spring games, and they'll probably save him mostly for the home games for, the Dodgers fans. They're not going to take him across to Mesa or, Scottsdale when they don't have to. He'll be at home most of the time.
I mean, with an investment like that, it's got to be nerve-wracking. Just anytime, he's coming off of surgery.
Sure,
It's just like, bro, all right, I love that you're doing this. I love that you're hitting all these bombs, but you tap the brakes a little bit, But that, listen, Xavier Scruggs, who we've had on the program, was just talking about how we've never really seen this. Like, obviously Babe Ruth was sucking down 14 hot dogs and whiskey and Cokes and going out and hitting bombs. It was a different era. We've never really seen this in this era. So we don't really know how his body is going to respond. And it's going to be really, really interesting on how they manage him. And it's the Dodgers, they probably have a really good plan in place to manage Shohei Ohtani, but it's just, there's so many variables of what could happen, man. You're right. I wouldn't take him anywhere.
I know. Now I wonder, and we can get into it a little bit more, but he's going to be a DH, and that's it this season. He won't play a second in the field. He won't pitch at all this year. Will that be tough getting back into the groove after being a two-way player for the last couple of seasons? Is just sitting there on the bench and being nothing but a DH going to be an adjustment for Shohei Ohtani again?
I have no idea. I hope it is.
Yeah,
I hope it's a terrible one. I hope he absolutely
grasping for straws.
Yeah, grasping for straws. He's hit a home run on every single swing he's taken at batting practice so far.
All right, we got a contestant on the line. Let's get to a Throwback Thursday Padres game of real or fake.
some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. You can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
All right, Mike is going to be playing for the qualifying grand prize. 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and 2 tickets to Air Supply. They'll be performing May 31st and June 1st at the Westgate International Theater. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster.com. You can check out the $70 million in room renovations at the Westgate, home of legendary Vegas fun. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Happy USA beats Russia Day.
There we go.
Very nice. The ice hockey
Yeah,
anniversary.
40 years? No.
It was 1980, so 44 years
44
ago
years,
today.
man. Wow.
Thank you, Mike. So you've got Woods on your team today. If you can get 4 out of 7 right here on Real or Fake, we'll put you into the drawing for the grand prize. And in honor of Game 1 of spring training, this is a Real or Fake only a Padres fan could really love. Even for Sam Levitt, there are more players in camp than any one person can keep track of. So today, I will give you a name. You tell me if they are a real non-roster invitee currently in Major League camp with the San Diego Padres.
Ooh, okay.
Or a fake. In this case, inspired by Italian Paul yesterday, a driver who competed in last weekend's Daytona 500.
Oh, I
so,
love this.
real Padre or fake NASCAR driver. Mike, are you ready to play?
Ready?
All right. Round 1, real or fake Padre in camp. Javian Sandridge. Real or fake, Mike? And you can ask Woods for help if you need it.
I wouldn't.
I defer to you.
Wow, for God's sakes.
Javian Sandridge.
He sounds like a baseball player. I'm going to say he's a NASCAR driver.
Mike, real or fake? He says fake. What do you say?
Sounds like a driver to me, too. Let's go.
Yeah, that's why I picked him. He's a real baseball player, left-handed pitcher in camp with the San Diego
All
Padres.
right, we're fine. We got
It's all right.
plenty
That's
of
just
time.
one round.
Just one.
All right, let's go to round number 2. Nate Mondu. Nate Mondu. Real or fake Padre in camp? These are all on the Major League non-roster invitee list or actual drivers in the Daytona 500.
I think he's real. What do you think, Woods?
I'm going to just roll with whatever you say.
Mike, you say real? That is
Yeah.
correct. Infielder in camp with the San Diego Padres.
Great hands. Nate
You like Nate Mondu?
He's got great hands.
All right, let's go. Round number 3. Anthony Alfredo. Anthony Alfredo. Real or fake Padre, Mike?
I think he's a NASCAR guy.
I'm going to roll with you, Mike.
He is
Nice.
a NASCAR
There we
driver.
go.
That
All
is
right,
2
2 in a
correct.
row.
You were halfway home as we head into round number 4. I think this one sounds pretty easy. Matt Festa. Matt Festa. Real or fake Padre, Mike?
I think he's a real pitcher.
Real pitcher? He says real. Adam? Correct.
Wow.
Right-handed pitcher in camp with the San Diego Padres.
Red hot.
All right, let's go with Chandler Siegel. Chandler Siegel. Real or fake Padre, Mike? This would be for the win.
Chandler Siegel. I'm going to say real.
You're going to say real, and you would be absolutely
Mike.
correct. Chandler Siegel's the guy who's behind Kyle Higashioka, behind Brett Sullivan, and behind Kevin Plawecki.
Oh, Plawecki.
And Campusano. But
Campusano.
he's like the 5th catcher in camp for the San Diego Padres, which means you have qualified. Stay on the line. Adam will get your information in about 42 minutes when he's done doing everything else. So just be patient. We'll get all your information into the drawing for the trip to Las Vegas. Last couple here for you, Woodsy. Kaz Gralla.
Kaz Gralla is a Padre.
Is a NASCAR driver. And Nolan Watson.
Oh, Padre. Padre.
Are you sure? Yeah. Right-handed pitcher. You got that one right. All right. Good job, Mike. We got a winner today on Real or Fake. Don't Do This is coming up next. I'm going to call out our own profession for overblowing certain stories that don't need to be stories at all.
Like Eric Hosmer's podcast.
Well, I guess that would be an
Fair.
example. I've got a different example for
Okay.
you, but we'll get to Don't Do This coming up next with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I am a dumbass.
It's time for Don't Do This
Don't do this.
on 97.3 The Fan.
I can officially say, don't do this. Not going to Craft Taco.
No, my
do
God.
do this.
Do this. Go there.
Go to Craft Taco in Sorrento Valley. We went there yesterday. Fantastic. Craft Taco, some of the best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com. Take a look at their happy hour specials today. Thecrafttaco.com. I have no idea what I'm going to order next time because I want everything again.
One of each.
And we had one of each yesterday. Literally, like one of each. All right, I am going to call out our industry, sports media. I feel like Adam's part of the problem here as well.
A huge part of the problem.
We have
massive part of the problem.
Yeah, and it's not your fault. You have a radio station that's on 24 hours a day. You have local program. What do we have? 13, 14 hours of local programming every day now?
13 hours.
Now,
Six
with
a.m. to 7 p.m.
with
It's amazing.
Padres back, it's going to be even more.
Yeah.
It'll be maybe 18, 19 hours of local programming every single day.
Plus, might I add 2 hours on the weekends with the Brady
That's
Sopranet
right.
show.
So you are constantly filling time, which means we have a tendency in this business to make mountains out of molehills. Or in fact, they're not even molehills at all. They're nothing. We blow up stories that have no business being stories. And I actually saw two of them yesterday. The first one, and I saw this story like on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. Charlie Woods is attempting to qualify to play in next week's PGA Tour event in Florida. Would be the first PGA Tour event of the 15-year-old's young career. All right, but the real story here, and, you know, they're talking about he's following in his father's footsteps, blah, blah, blah. This is a huge moment. It's not. Anyone can play in a pre-qualifier.
Bo Woods could play
You got
in a
a handicap.
pre-qualifier.
You got $250. You can go tee it up in a pre-qualifier, which is, by the way, really hard to get through. There's a lot of good players. Only the top four advance to then the Monday qualifier, which only the top four of that advance to the tournament. There's no way he's going to make it. It's good experience for him. Tiger can, I'm sure, afford the $250 entry fee for his son to get a little competition. There's no reason not to do it, but it's not a story that Charlie Woods is playing in this tournament.
Is it not, though?
He plays in all kinds of tournaments. He plays in junior golf tournaments. He plays in bigger events than this.
PGA qualifier.
It's a pre-qualifier for a PGA Tour event. That's all it is. It's
the other
nothing.
thing we do in sports radio. I'm supposed to push back on you.
Yes,
and
that's
debate
right. Very
you
good.
about
Debate.
Pass.
It's not. It's like the number one golf story in sports yesterday. It's not a big deal. If
Yeah.
he makes it now, that's cool.
That's a huge
Gets
story.
to play in
then.
the tournament. Any 15-year-old making it into a PGA Tour event, he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do so. He's going to have to play like the round of his life twice in a row to get into a PGA Tour event. But then there's other stories like when someone unfollows their team on social media, we make a giant deal out of it. And Justin Fields was the guy who was the top NFL headline yesterday because someone noticed that on his Instagram account that he unfollowed both the Chicago Bears and the official NFL account. Trouble in paradise. Obviously, there's already been trouble and speculation that the Bears may be using that number one draft pick that they got from the Carolina Panthers to take Caleb Williams. However, he went on the St. Brown Brothers podcast, Equanimous and Amon-Ra doing their thing, just like the Kelsey brothers do. And I think he had a perfectly reasonable explanation. He said, I just don't want my timeline filled with a bunch of football right now.
100%.
It's the offseason. Everyone's speculating, obviously, about what's going to happen. And I don't need to see that every time I open Instagram. Yeah. Should they take Caleb Williams? Video, people talking about it, NFL stories, speculation. It's my off season. Just need a little break from all of it. And the way to do that is I just unfollowed temporarily. It's not a story who you follow and don't follow on social media.
No, not at all. I mean, and you know, he's protecting his mentals, basically. You know what I'm saying? And we've had this debate and chatter on this station or on this show a long time. I mean, I've blocked people before, and it's I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to see it anymore. Like, I just don't want to read it anymore. Your social media, by the way, and I've said this before, your social media, Ben, is your house. That's your house. You get to decide what lunatics you want to let into your home. And if you decide, I don't want you in my house, block them.
He said, it's something I don't want to see in my timeline. I'm about to go on vacation. I don't want to see no football. And guess what? The discourse is either keep Fields. We want Fields.
Right.
It's either draft Caleb Williams. I'm tired of hearing the talk. I just want it to be over. But he says, yes, of course. I want to stay. I can't see myself playing in another place. If it was up to me, I would want to stay in Chicago. I love the city. The city's lit. The fans are great. And the people. It's a business. I ain't got control over it. Whatever happens, happens. It's a very healthy attitude
It's a
that
good
he's actually
perspective.
taken toward all of this, and nothing that should be the top NFL story at ESPN.com and SportsCenter and NFL Tonight and Live. But because we have so much programming to fill, 24-hour channels, television,
nuts, man.
radio, networks, national, local, we grab onto these little things like they're important or they're revealing or they're something that should be talked about when really they shouldn't be talked about. And I feel bad that sometimes even we fall for it because we've got 4 hours to fill every single day.
100%.
And we'll fall for it once or twice. But in this case, 2 stories that did not need to be stories yesterday from the world of sports.
And
there we go. Mega doo-doo.
So what do we say all the time? What do I say, Ben? Consequences have actions.
You do
right?
say that.
Well, listen, yesterday there was a piece that dropped in The Athletic, and it was the Pittsburgh Pirates' turn to be in the crosshairs. Padres have had a lot of pieces written about them over the last couple of years, and I think for good reason. Talking about, and the headline alone was why the Pirates keep losing. They're comfortable being mediocre, and it goes into
that's generous.
It goes into detail about player development. It goes into detail about their owner Bob Nutting, and it goes into detail about their drafting ability, disability. They have not been very good with all those high picks, Benny. They've gotten some players, but they just haven't developed them as well as they wanted to. Talking about the money that they spent. So you see that come out yesterday. And you're like, oh, here they go, man. They are under the gun right now. Well, this morning, I guess you got to give them a little bit of credit. They did just re-sign or extend Mitch Keller, who is an absolute stud, front of their rotation guy. And locked him up, I think, 5-year, $77 million deal for Mitch Keller, who has some of the filthiest stuff in baseball and going to attempt to make a run now, finally. Again, keeping some of these guys at home in Pittsburgh.
Or the cynic will say, and in a year and a half, they will trade him away
at
exactly. The deadline for younger, cheaper players because they really don't have a chance to win.
More breaking news in the world of baseball. Our beloved Skip Schumacher finally has a shortstop. It is shortstop Tim Anderson. Miami Marlins in agreement on a 1-year, $5 million contract.
Can you reveal any of the private conversations you've had with Skip? He wanted a shortstop at some point.
Yeah, he did.
Like most teams, most managers usually want to have a shortstop on their team. And they didn't.
So
now they do.
I asked him about it yesterday, if they're getting him. And he said, I don't know. He said, we made the offer. He said, he is my favorite bounce back candidate in the league. We'll see. And I said, I love him. And I always have. And he said, yeah, I mean, we need a shortstop. And I said, oh, well, my adult league team has a really good dude at short. I can't relate. So
the Marlins have been a rumored destination for a certain player in the Padres. Does this take them out of that market?
The player
Ha-Sung
you're referring
Kim?
to is Ha-Sung Kim.
Probably a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's a 1-year deal. They both have 1 year remaining on their deals right now. The Marlins or Tim Anderson and
Tim
Ha-Sung
Anderson's
Kim.
really a 2-year bounce back kind of candidate. He hasn't been that good since 2021.
Yeah.
I guess he was an all-star in 2022, although his OPS dipped almost 100 points to 734. Last year, 582 OPS, 60 OPS plus.
Was he? How many games did he play? Was he
123?
hurt? Okay.
No. I mean, they threw him out there. He had a home run. 25 runs batted in. And home run? Is it? What's the article? When
It's home run.
Home run.
I like TA though. And I think for $5 million, no bad 1-year deals.
He's a good bounce back candidate in that it's going to be hard to be that bad.
Yeah,
again.
100%. High ceiling.
Really hard to be as bad as he was last year.
I love it. Good pickup.
They still got $5 million from a very cheap team.
Yeah.
And one other baseball note: Kodai Senga is expected to start the season on the injured list with the Mets. He was going through some testing to see if he had arm fatigue, which I'm not sure how that was.
Oh, it's not good. He's going to start the season on the IL.
Yeah,
I saw.
I
Yeah.
just
Did you
said
say that?
I just
sorry.
said that. Yes.
I just was looking for that.
That's don't do this.
I just bend you.
You did bend me for a Thursday.
Oh, we got a starting lineup.
We can reveal that,
I will
and Bryce
tease
Miller
you.
will join us when we come back
Oh, look at this.
with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station.
Oh, my
97.3 The
God.
Fan.
Let's read into all of this. What are you?
Got Bryce Miller from the UT standing by, talking about his conversation with one Bob Melvin, former Padres skipper, now manager of the San Francisco Giants at Spring Training Media Day. First, though, we do have a lineup for you for today's Spring Training opener here on 97.3 The Fan, Padres versus the Dodgers. And it will start.
Are you going to do it? Oh, go ahead.
You want to do it?
No,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, take it.
No.
Shall we alternate?
Whatever. No, just do whatever you want to do. It's fine. I'll just sit here. I'll just wait for Bryce. Go ahead.
You can react. How about you react to the lineup?
All right, I'll do that.
As any good lineup should. Starts with a superstar. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field. Xander Bogaerts batting second, playing second. That's interesting.
It
Just
is.
second in the order. I don't know if it's, want to read too much into it, but a spot where I could envision him being this season. Jake Cronenworth will bat third and play first base. Luis Campusano behind the plate, hitting cleanup. Ha-Sung Kim is going to bat fifth and play shortstop. He was in the top three in the lineup a lot last year.
He was?
But fifth, you didn't see him at fifth a lot. You saw him down seventh, eighth. You saw him first, second, but fifth is different. The Jackson Merrill will start in left field and bat sixth for the Padres.
I love it.
Eggy Rosario will be your third baseman and bat seventh. Cal Mitchell, the designated hitter, batting eighth. And Sugar, Jose Azocar, the center fielder, batting ninth with Joe Musgrove on the mound. So, really actually probably a fairly representative lineup, other than Manny, who is going to sit. And Mike Schultz said he probably will get into a game fairly soon as a designated hitter. This is one of the better lineups you can put out right now for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
Right? That's until you add an outfielder. This is the one.
This is the one.
This is the one. You can say, well, maybe I'd rather see Tirso or Nellis or someone else other than Cal Mitchell as your DH or Matt Batten. But that's pretty much the lineup right now for the San Diego Padres.
It's first day spring training.
It's the first day.
Yeah.
So there's your lineup for today's game. We'll talk to Bryce Miller right after check traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. Collision has been moved into the center divide on northbound 125, right around Lemon Avenue, seeing a little residual there. Now northbound side of the 805, right around H Street, there's a collision involving 3 or 4 vehicles. That is in the center divide. The daily jackpots at Viejas Casino and Resort are on fire. Players have hit huge wins with bets as low as 50 cents. Check out their jackpot winning smiles on the Viejas Facebook page. Want to join them? Who knows? Our next jackpot winner could be you. Viejas Casino and Resort. And Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Woods and I were just joking during the break after Kodai Senga is going to be put on the IL with fatigue. Said we both test positive for fatigue if there was such a test.
100%.
But I almost feel embarrassed when we bring on our next guest. I saw him out at the Farmers Insurance Open. He was walking the course. He's traveling. He's going to spring training. He's doing his job while he's battled his own health challenges recently and still doing a terrific job. It's good to welcome Bryce Miller back with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Bryce, good morning. How are you feeling?
Good enough to be in that lineup.
Now, outstanding.
Now, that's not saying a whole hell of a lot, Bryce, to be honest with you right now.
Just a little pepper contact guy at the bottom,
Yeah,
just put the ball in play.
Yeah, make contact. Try to drive that run in from third with less than 2 outs. Certainly, I got to tell you, I was yesterday when I was looking at my phone. I saw, oh man, Bryce Miller just dropped a new piece, and he sat down with Bob Melvin. That was a bit of a surprise for me. How did this come about? And were you surprised that Bob was willing to sit down and chit chat for a while?
It came about because I wanted to just kind of do let's put a bow on this, how everything ended, and see if there was more to understand about, because we all kind of remember there was a point when the season ended that, everybody had admitted there was some choppy water, between AJ Preller and Bob Melvin, but they were going to sit down and have this kumbaya. And then they came out and publicly, both said that it sounded like year 3 was going to happen and it was going to come together. And then a couple weeks later, he's with the Giants. And so, what turned, what happened, what changed? I just wanted to see if he was willing to kind of open the door a bit on that and see if there were a few more answers there. So I just texted him and said, tell me a day you think would work. And so I went over to Scottsdale yesterday and got with him. And was I surprised he talked? Maybe in some of that detail, but not really. I think Bob's always been at his core, he's a good person.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. I know people are rolling their eyes hearing that because it's about baseball. It's about winning games. This is professional baseball. It's not, who's a good guy and who isn't. But I think it goes to the core of answering your question of why he was willing to talk a little bit, because, it's not like he called me up and said, come on over, I want to clear the air.
Right.
I mean, I had to kind of convince him to have that conversation, and his willingness to do it, I think says a little bit about him as a person for sure.
Bryce, did you get the sense, and, the timeline being what it was, that this was Peter Seidler's wish? He respected the heck out of both of those men and wanted them to work together and make it work. And, they obviously knew more than we did the health challenges that Peter was going through. And they got that kind of directive, like, I want you to make this work. And I may not be around next season, but I want this to work. So they really did want to try to make it work. But, ultimately they realized no matter what they did, it wasn't necessarily ever going to be a good situation between the two of them.
Yeah, I think I don't know how much. I just want to be transparent. I don't think I pushed enough to know whether Peter kind of demanded that they work together and make it work, or just that his wishes were, can we make this work? It would be great if we could make this work. That kind of feel to it. So I don't know, but he did want to try to make it work between those two guys. But I think one of Bob's points he made in the column, even on his mind, even though I think he wanted to be really clear that he just didn't walk away from a challenge in San Diego. He didn't quit on the Padres. He didn't, say one thing and do another, in the sense, he wanted to make it clear that even when they initially checked, the Giants asked permission, he wanted to stay. But then that kind of sparked more conversation. I think the thing he said about, I'm on a 1-year contract, and if anything starts to go wrong, given what happened the season before, then that becomes mushrooms and becomes more. And, the fans don't need that, and a clean break and a reset button probably was the right answer. So I think at the end of the day, no matter what the situation was, I think everybody involved probably thought turning the page was the right answer. And I know the Padres are thrilled to have Mike Schilt, and Bob Melvin. He really understands the Bay Area. He's from there. He's got a lot of professional connections there. And so maybe it did work out for the best for everybody.
Talking to our pal Bryce Miller here from the UT on Ben and Woods this morning. And I do wonder, Bryce, as I remember the day that all of us gathered and went to the Zoom and sat down, and there was AJ Preller, but there was no Bob Melvin. And it was, well, Bob's moving and he can't be on the end of the year wrap up. And right then, obviously, red flags go up. I mean, you'd have to be crazy to think there wasn't something going on. Where do you think that Zoom meeting fell in the timeline of all of this going down?
To be honest, I have no idea, because like I said, it was confusing at the end, or at least externally it was confusing. Maybe internally they had a better handle on it, but it sounded like the message was, this is, again, here comes year 3, because that's a really small sample size. You have a couple of seasons, and one of them's the most, given the circumstances, one of the most historic in franchise history, given that they had to go to New York and play every game in New York and beat Scherzer and do what they did, beat the Dodgers in the playoffs to get to the NLCS. We obviously know about the World Series years, but you have one of the greatest seasons in franchise history, followed by probably easily, given the circumstances, one of the most disappointing seasons. So that's, if that's a report card, that's a 50-50 split in some ways. So you thought maybe they will try another year, but you're right. It was confusing at the end to try to understand what the status was, what the plan was, and it certainly changed when they had that conversation.
Bryce, there's a narrative out there that AJ Preller is difficult to work for, and you know what? That can sometimes be. There are successful people who are difficult to work for.
Yeah,
but,
Ben Higgins, Adam Klug, 100%.
I don't, and I don't doubt it's true. Just knowing AJ the way we know him a little bit, I don't doubt that is true, that he is a tough person. He's an all-hours sort of guy, and it can probably wear on some people. But I thought it was interesting what Bob Melvin said, that even if that may be true, that he wasn't at his best. I believe he used the word
grouchy.
Cranky, actually. Was it cranky?
Cranky.
Got to be a little Mr. Cranky Pants at the end of the season at some point, and he took some responsibility for that.
Yeah, I thought he took some responsibility in 2 or 3 spots there. I mean, it wasn't like this was, him being Bob Melvin just saying everything AJ did was wrong. I was mistreated. I got kicked out the door. He admitted, and I think it took some guts to do it, that I asked, the panic button, did you need to show more urgency sooner? And he goes, did I push that button? Did I wait too long? Talked about, do I shred things and start over wholesale after the success we had a year before? You could really see him working through the internal doubts he had as he managed on how to handle it when they weren't winning. And in the same degree, he said, and I got to be honest, I pushed back at the end and I was cranky and I don't feel good about that in terms of his relationship with AJ. So I think it made the whole thing feel more honest, because he was critical of himself in moments, but he also tried to explain, I think, again, the most important thing, that he wanted to stay if he could, because he didn't want the sense that he walked away from a challenge or he was going to not live up to his contractual obligations.
No, I think that's fair. And listen, at the end of every relationship, there's a reason that it ended, and people go their own ways and people have different versions to their story. I really do. It's one of those weird situations, at least as we sit right here today, Bryce, where feels like everybody is for the better. I mean, Ben and I had a conversation yesterday at lunch about, because I had said last week, I'm a big Bob Melvin guy. I love him as a person. He was a great man, very kind, very thoughtful. And I just respect him. And we had heard so many great things about him, his communication. And, we said maybe he just wasn't the right guy for this team, as it were, but that's also the team he took to the playoffs the year before. And,
Right.
and so it's
Right.
just, I know you and I were chatting a little bit online yesterday. He didn't forget how to manage in 1-run games. It just didn't break his way. And I just feel like right now, everybody gets a clean slate. I wish him well, but not very well. Record-wise, I wish him well in his health and things like that, in his personal life, but certainly not record-wise. You don't want to beat him every time we play him, but I do feel like it's kind of, everyone's kind of come to the top on this thing, and it's going to work out better for both.
Yeah, I mean, there are times in life when things can be contentious and awkward and disappointing, and then it does work out for both sides. I mean, this very well could be the case. It's so hard, I think, to judge Bob Melvin for last season, because last season was unlike any other, almost in Padres history, and in a lot of ways, and more broadly in baseball. Mike Schilt used the phrase last year when I wrote about it, the baseball Beatles, when you had Juan Soto, and then you bring in Xander Bogaerts, and you already had Machado, and you already had Tatis, and you had that rotation, which at that point, included Blake Snell and Josh Hader as the closer. It was just so much talent and money assembled in one room that how do you manage that? I mean, you can't train for that by being successful in Oakland.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have those kind of names and stars, and there were clearly some personality conflicts. It wasn't clear whether there was enough oxygen in the room for Manny Machado and Juan Soto. It wasn't clear, across the board how Xander Bogaerts felt about how he fit into this in terms of where his voice is among that group. And talking to Joe Musgrove the other day for something I wrote, it just feels like it's more focused on baseball. It's more normal, traditional routine. And again, not to use that phrase over and over, but they get to hit the reset button. So at the end of the day, it really could work out for both teams.
In reading your column, Bryce, you could see the internal conflict of last season for Bob going, my instinct is to not panic, to be patient, to trust that everything's going to play out. And then in hindsight, realizing now that I know it didn't work out, I should have done something really quickly to adjust to what wasn't going well early in the season. But one of the catchphrases that Mike Schilt has used already in spring, you've probably heard him say it, is we need to be elite adjusters. And I think that's almost in direct response to what they didn't do last season. And that was they never really adjusted to anything. They always trusted that the back of the baseball card.
Trust the process.
That in the long run, everything was going to work out the way it was supposed to. Let's not react to anything. And now, I think Mike is kind of setting the mindset. Don't get spooked if we change some things as we go, because we need to be elite adjusters, and we can't always simply trust that everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to.
I think that's a really smart way to approach it. I mean, you can't be so set in your ways and worried about egos and walking on eggshells. You can't make the best baseball decisions. I'm not saying that's where Bob found himself. I think he was more, I trusted what we did the year before, so I don't want to completely blow that up. But looking back, hindsight, he said now that it didn't work, to your point, maybe we should have done something sooner. But the front office can look back in hindsight and say, we didn't get anything for Blake Snell and he walked. We didn't get anything for Josh Hader and he walked. Should we have done something sooner? And then they do something with Juan Soto. So those decisions in the moment are a lot tougher than they are when we all look back at them. But yeah, that internal conflict, you definitely felt it.
Bryce, good column. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. Are you still out in Arizona, or are you back home?
No, I'm in Arizona. I'm standing outside the batting cage and looking at your spot where you guys are, the 97.
We will be there on Monday morning, so keep it warm for us.
It's wide open.
Outstanding. Bryce Miller, Union Tribune. Thank you so much, Bryce.
Thanks, brother.
You got it.
I would go so far as to venture that Bob Melvin would not have asked Xander Bogaerts to change positions.
Correct.
That's too big. That was too big of a leap. That was too much to. He wanted to appease his stars. Oh, you don't want to bat second? We won't bat you second. You don't want to play here? We're not going to play you here. Mike Shildt has come with the attitude, yeah, we're going to change some things. We're going to do some things. We're going to ask you to do some things that maybe the previous manager did not ask you to do. And he's already started it right away with a giant move in spring training by switching Ha-Seong Kim and Xander Bogaerts. I think that sets a bit of a tone as to the different kind of ship that Mike Shildt will be running compared to the one that Bob Melvin did, which was a very player-friendly ship. No doubt about it.
Mike Shildt runs a tighter. Mike Shildt runs a tighter ship. Right?
That's correct.
Shilt's ship.
He runs a different ship.
Okay. Maybe tighter, too.
Yeah. I mean, Bob had a reputation of being player-friendly.
Oh, yeah.
And he was player-friendly. He did not necessarily get them. He didn't want to get them out of their comfort zones. He thought the comfort zone was where players succeed the best. So he tried to keep them in their comfort zone. Mike Shildt doesn't seem like he's as concerned about comfort zones. He's more concerned about what's the best product we can put on the field. And we might have to ask you to do some things that are a little outside of the norm to make that happen for us. Different positions, different spots in the lineup. Everything's on the table with Mike Shildt, where it felt like Bob Melvin was managing with a couple of hands tied behind his back.
Sure.
Last season to try to keep his players happy and, in a good headspace. Well, what did good headspace do for them last year?
We didn't have a good headspace.
Nothing.
Throughout the entire season. No one did. But
winning puts you in a good headspace,
100%.
as it turns out.
Yeah, winning cures everything.
Not where you bat in the order.
Right.
Winning is what puts you in a good headspace.
Yeah, Dan says nothing against Bo Mel. I think Shilt's a better fit. I do too. I really do. It doesn't mean I'm gonna trash Bob Melvin on his way out of town. He's a great man with a great reputation, and like I said, wish him a lot of luck and health and happiness, but not at our expense, certainly.
Speaking of the position change coming up in the second half of Ben and Woods, we will hear some of Sammy Levitt's interview with Xander Bogaerts that took place yesterday. We will also, I teased it and we never got to it yesterday, Jason Stark's column in The Athletic about 31 anonymous, like GMs and execs, polled on big questions of the offseason, the winners, the losers. Padres play into it in a couple of places. Dodgers obviously get a lot of talk in it, but there were some interesting observations made under the cloak of anonymity.
Tony Gwynn Jr. next, yeah?
And Tony Gwynn Jr. coming up next. Yes, from the road on the way to Peoria in the first game of the season. All coming up. You do not want to go away. Ben and Woods continuing here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
out of Ben Higgins, and I will do it.
And Paul Reindl.
Oh my God!
It's Ben and Woods.
Oh, I do. It seems a lot of things to
On 97.3 The Fan.
All right, my friends, we are halfway home on a Thursday. We've got baseball today here on 97.3 The Fan. Very excited about that. Paulie is out today. Adam Klug, our boss, is filling in for him, doing a great job. Good job. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, joins us as well. And on the line right now is he's like the most dangerous living person I know right now. I'm so on edge about what you're actually doing right now. Tony Gwynn Jr., voice of the Padres, joins us as well. Good morning, Tony.
Morning, Woodsy.
I'm sick to my stomach right now. You have a game that you're calling today. You're currently in the car driving out
4 hours away.
Yeah, and you lose an hour. Do you remember that?
I did when I left this morning and put it in my phone and realized I'm getting there right at 1 o'clock. So it's gonna be a whirlwind again.
He's got Jesse Agler. I mean, there's really no stress when you work with Jesse Agler. The guy who's been there for days. He's going to be prepared. Tony's going to cruise in. He's going to be absolutely fine.
Just out of breath.
Now you sound actually fine. You told Adam, I heard, that I might be in a bad spot. I picture you in that, where it keeps changing from San Diego to Imperial County as you go back.
Terrible.
You go the switchback all the way down into the El Centro Valley. I hope you're closer than that, though. But if you're only going to be there at 1, you're obviously not that far along yet.
You are spot on right now, man. I am approaching El Centro here shortly, and that'll probably be a spot where I try to get a little fast food so I can get some meat.
Yeah, I mean, this is like it's literally like I used to live a little dangerously, Tony Gwynn Jr. And I'm like, man, I've done some really seedy stuff. I've never done anything this nerve-wracking though. I'll tell you right now, I'm pulling for you. I hope you get there. And yeah, that Jesse will be able to cover you until you get there. But so, man, it's got to be a good feeling for you getting back out there and getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I think just based on what I've been hearing in the early part of spring, based on what I've seen, this is a group that has a chance to do some things. And I know there's still, I would say, some holes in the roster that I think will eventually be addressed. But I'm excited. I really am about this ball club. This is they've kind of built-in chip on their shoulders based on how things went last year.
And I think for a ball player too, Tony, and you can speak to this better than anybody, humility is a pretty powerful thing. Oh, sorry. I think we're losing him now. We got you?
I got you.
Okay. Yeah. Humility for a baseball player can be a good thing, a really good thing, actually. It can make you go back and work harder and reassess and realize, maybe we're.
But you don't want to lose your confidence.
You don't want to lose your confidence. It's a fine line, I would imagine.
It 100% is a fine line. And, this game has a funny way of consistently humbling. And as human beings, it's easy to go through an off season or a season in which you are the favorites and all of the praise comes to you early. And then you get in it and you kind of can lose track of where you are and who you are. And I think baseball is, as I said, it has a great way of bringing you back to center. And just listening to a lot of the different comments coming out of camp, it seems like they have realized that there was some centering that needed to happen. And with Mike Schilt, I think, at the helm, I think they're certainly on their way to getting back where they need to be.
I'll admit, Tony, I may have been wrong last year. I thought the whole weight of expectations thing was overblown a bit. I'm a big, hey, you produce on the field, and the off the field stuff is kind of irrelevant once you get between the lines. But clearly, it had an impact. The weight of the expectations, all the pressure, had an impact last year. Will it have an impact on the LA Dodgers, who are that team this year, the one that's getting all the attention, all the media, all the stories, dozens of reporters every single day to see Ohtani and Yamamoto and Glasnow, and they're going to be there in Peoria today, their first road show of the spring. Could they be impacted the same way the Padres were last year?
Sure. I mean, I would say that they have a little more experience in being that story, being that top dog, and maybe knowing how to handle it. But everybody's susceptible to that. I would push back that you weren't really wrong, Ben. I think those things are true. Everything is really decided on the field. But how do you navigate that when it doesn't go as scripted, right? And I think that's where this ball club last year failed. And when it changed on them, they didn't pivot. They just stayed with the thought of, hey, it'll all work itself out. We'll be fine. And then when they looked up, it was too late. But the Dodgers most certainly can be affected by it. If not during the regular season, we know it can affect them come playoff time. So they're an immensely talented team. They should be the favorites to win the West, but they're just as susceptible to the things the Padres went through as are just susceptible to go through the things that the Padres went through last year.
I was just going to say, we're talking to Tony Gwynn Jr. It's a totally different feeling when that clock strikes midnight and it gets into October for the LA Dodgers. I mean, you added some obviously ridiculously great players. Tyler Glass now it has experience in the postseason. Shohei Ohtani does not. Yamamoto does not. It's a different story for them. They're going to win 115 games, like almost falling out of bed, and they did it last year with a rash of injuries. They know what they're doing. But again, it's going to be a little bit different in October, and that pressure's just got to be through the roof. It's good for my narrative, though, because if they win it, Tony, well, it's like, well, yeah, how could you not win it with that team? And if they lose it, that's just going to be a lot of fun.
It's funny because, I think I'm a big believer in, I don't believe in a lot of the hype that typically happens in terms of the game, especially playoffs. But once it starts to happen a couple times, and I'm talking about the Dodgers and their playoff issues, I guess. Once it starts to happen a few times, now it starts to settle in on the people who are in the fight. Start to settle in your head a little bit.
Creeping in.
So it does. And so you start to have to find a way to overcome that. And so that's going to be stuck on them no matter who the new guys on the roster are who haven't experienced it. They are going to inherit that. And so, from a Padre fan standpoint, I think you sit back and you hope for chaos. Now, chaos may not come when you think when it's supposed to, like during the regular season, but anything can happen come postseason. We've seen that, now like four consecutive years, it feels like.
Talking to Tony Gwynn Jr., voice of the Padres. Gwynn and Chris here on 97.3 The Fan on his way to Peoria for today's game. And Tony, I want a spring training childhood memory from Tony Gwynn Jr. Like, how young were you when your dad let you come with you to Peoria? I mean, do you even remember Yuma? I can't imagine you do. You're not old enough for that. But like, what did he let you do when you finally were old enough to go to spring training and be with him for a little bit? And you were in school, so I don't know how much you got to do.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to spring training for a long period of time, to the point where I could like get up, go hang out with him at the field. But I certainly remember Yuma. I remember being under what would be the home side bleachers playing pickle with whatever kids were back there. And that wasn't just ball players, kids. That was whatever kids were out watching games. We were in the back usually playing pickle somewhere. Most of my spring training stories are really just being able to go in and go into the clubhouse. That was really my first experience getting to see what a big league clubhouse looked like. Now, mind you, Yuma's clubhouse on the Padres side looked a whole lot different than it did in Qualcomm when you came back. But nevertheless, that was my first experience being in it. So I have a lot of really fun memories. I have memories of breaking windows at whatever facility we were staying at, getting in trouble doing that. I got a lot of trouble when I was coming out to Yuma. So
did your dad tell you not stay away from certain players? Like don't bother Ken Caminiti. He's getting his work done. Stay away from Ken. Was there certain players that were off limits?
By the time, no player was off limits. By the time Cammy was, I was a little bit older. I understood what was going on a little bit more. But back in the late '80s, seeing Tempe in the locker room. I mean, the '80s was wild because you walk in there, it'd be three or four guys smoking a cigarette. And it was just, you think of where we're at now. It's like I couldn't fathom walking into a clubhouse seeing anybody smoking a cigarette. But that That was kind of the times then.
Can you imagine?
I kind of miss it.
If
Actually.
we just walked in and
Fernando
Bogarts is just
smoking a heater.
Jeez.
What in the world?
I mean, Ed Whitson usually had his shirt off and a cigarette before as soon as you walked in the morning. It was like his poppy.
My favorite. I miss that era of baseball, actually, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think I fit in better there, Tony. We'll let you get back on the road, man. Good luck getting out there, and hope you make it in time, and we'll be listening. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my ETA is 12:50, so I'm doing well.
Yeah, a little ahead of schedule.
Nice, but you still got that fast food stop ahead of him, too, so.
Don't get pulled over.
Yeah, I built it in, so we should be good.
Excellent. All right. Tony,
Appreciate you,
have
man.
a great month. We'll see you when you get back. Tony Gwynn Jr., actually, we'll see him on Monday when we're out there in person, I'm sure. And you'll hear him, barring any accidental sidetracking or, incorrect Google Maps or unexpected traffic at 12 o'clock today, Pacific time, 1 o'clock Arizona time, which is 10 minutes after he's scheduled to arrive in Peoria.
It is very Ben Higgins of him. I mean, you
Efficient.
push.
Yeah, he's efficient.
You push the envelope a little bit. Too much for my liking. I was at lunch yesterday an hour early. An hour.
I got there 5 minutes early.
5 minutes before the lunch
Which
meeting
is,
started.
by the way, still 5 minutes early is 5 minutes early.
That's fair. We might have could have started it earlier had you been there a little bit earlier. But I'm just, you also like to live dangerously like that.
Well, I was already very early, and then I went to work, and I was early the rest of my day. I didn't want to. I mean,
sit and rot.
I feel like if you're an hour early, you're just wasting an hour of your day that you could have been doing something else.
I was playing on my phone, listening to my album record.
You went and got
of
a
the day.
coffee.
Got a coffee.
Coffee.
A delicious flat white.
Not necessarily the most productive time of your day.
I was listening to my new record.
So what was yesterday?
It was Allman Brothers live.
Bob Dylan was day one.
Yep.
If you missed it yesterday, Wood's got a book. 1001 albums you need to hear before you die or something.
And turns out a lot of tier ones have done the same thing or are doing the same thing. They have the same book. And now there's a website that just pops up a generator and it shoots you your album of the day. I haven't logged in to see what today's is, but yesterday was the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore, and it's pretty badass. I'm not a big jam guy, so I'm like, all right, I get it. You guys are really good at guitar. I get it. You guys shred. A
lot of their tracks are instrumental.
Not a lot of them, but some of them.
Yeah.
And so, Dwayne Allman is incredible. They're very good at playing guitar and showing you how good they are at playing guitar. So I liked it. I like the Allman Brothers. I will say I like Blood on the Tracks a little bit better. So I'm working through them. So how many do I have left? I've done 2.
999.
999 albums to go in their entirety. So I got
999 albums to go.
I got the whole one done yesterday,
albums
waiting for you. So it was good.
All right, we got our Tier 1 tour resuming next. We are finally making our way out of the East. We'll go back to the National League and take a look at the Chicago Cubs as we begin our tour of the NL Central, a team that has had a fairly quiet offseason after a surprisingly decent year that didn't end in a playoff run. We'll take a look at the Chicago Cubs, what they are up to in our Tier 1 tour next after a check of traffic with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. right, before we jump back into our Tier 1 tour, I need to respond to our big boss, Michael, who is in our chat, who said 5 minutes early is late.
Damn right.
And while I certainly understand that perspective, especially someone coming from a military background, when you have a drill sergeant who is going to lay into you and make you do a bunch of push-ups if you're going to be late, you're definitely going to want to be very early for things. But I'm going to try to convince Michael that as an employee, you want your employees using their time as efficiently as possible and having them simply sitting around being early to something, like 15 minutes early to a meeting, to then what? Sit around and just shoot the breeze and not be productive is actually counter to what you're trying to create. You want every minute accounted for as efficiently as possible. And that is always my goal every single day.
Very much so.
To make every minute count.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't get to lunch 1 hour early when it's scheduled for 12:30. I feel like 12:25 is a perfectly acceptable time to arrive for a 12:30 lunch.
Yeah, I mean, you're just living dangerously. There could be a 10-car pileup on the 5. There could be a flat tire.
There could.
And I'd be covered.
Is there a sense that I feel like my time may be more valuable than yours was?
You're a bit of a narcissist.
Yes,
yeah,
there is.
Absolutely.
There's a little bit of that as well.
There's no question.
And if I felt like I made you have to wait another 5 minutes, probably not going to change your day much because you just waited for an hour. What's another 5 minutes anyway?
That's true. That's true. I tend to attract these people in my life, to be honest with you. My wife is truly my soulmate in that we both are an hour early everywhere we go. And I couldn't do it any other way. Have you ever run for a plane? Like, that's such a concept that's so foreign to me.
Only when I was on a connection that got delayed.
Right.
So but that wasn't my fault.
Have you ever run for a plane that was leaving at 7:30?
Planes, I tend to be fairly early. One time when my wife and I were flying to Italy, our one international trip that we made, we arrived about 3 hours before the flight. But this was in the months after 9/11 at LAX. And there were multiple security lines, and we realized we're not going to make it on
3 hours.
We were there 3 hours early. By the time we checked in just to the ticket line, it was now 45 minutes before our flight, and we still had 2 security lines to get through. Fortunately, everyone else was in the same boat, and as we walked up to our flight, they said, "Yeah, you're not by far not the last one to get on. We're fine. We're not late." But we were pretty panicked at that point.
We've got a rule on the Tier 1 baseball team that's already been established. 30 minutes. Game starts at 9. You need to be there in uniform, ready to go at 8:30. So I can get the lineup done. I'm not going to be waiting for you, not holding the lineup. We got enough guys. 30 minutes.
That's
man.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, part of being at a game is warming up and
getting ready.
Getting ready. If you get there at 8:25, then you're 5 minutes early.
Yeah,
but if you get there at 8:30, you're still on time.
Yeah, you're on time.
That's fine.
Yeah, you'll stay in the lineup.
All right. Speaking of lineups, let's take a look at the Chicago Cubs and fire up the Tier 1 tour bus. I'm like a kitten. Taking a look at each team in sequence as we count our way down to Padres opening day on March 20th. We have completed our tour of the NL and AL East divisions. It is now time to look at the NL Central, and we will start with the Chicago Cubs, who finished 83-79 last year, 1 game out of a wild card. Pretty big game because that was 1 game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks, who went to the World Series. 162, sometimes 1 game makes a big difference. And I just happened to look. They went 1-6 against the Diamondbacks last year. They didn't really let it get away. They went 7-15 in their final 22 games. Brutal. It was the Cubs' playoff spot to lose, and they did, allowing the Diamondbacks to sneak in and the Marlins at the end. But in a normal universe where the Cubs don't collapse, the Diamondbacks don't even make the playoffs. Obviously, they don't make a World Series run, and we're living in maybe a different alternate timeline in which there's a lot of different talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks right now, but didn't happen that way. And in the end, the Cubs decided to make a very large managerial change in the offseason. Their biggest move coming in the dugout with the hiring of Craig Counsell away from the Milwaukee Brewers, replacing David Ross.
Yeah, and you figure that move in and of itself, Ben, could get you that extra game that you needed, right? I don't know how you judge a manager's wins above replacement, but Craig Counsell, obviously very well respected, knows what he's doing. has been able to do a lot with a little, and it's a very similar team. Don't you feel like maybe even worse starting pitching than he had in Milwaukee, but maybe with a better offense? I'm looking at their offense to projections on Fangraphs right now, Benny, and I'm looking, and they got 4 guys probably going to hit more than 20 home runs in Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Dansby Swanson, Christopher Morel.
It looks very different if you add Cody Bellinger back to the lineup.
It looks massively
Which
different.
the speculation has been that they are the favorites to retain him and bring him back, but as of yet, they have not done so, which means it's been a very quiet offseason for the Cubs. I mean, yeah, it's not a scary lineup. I mean, other than Yan Gomes, if you're a Padre, who is the absolute. I don't know how that guy kills the Padres every single time, just murders the Padres. But yeah. I mean, Tauchman, Horner, Happ, Suzuki, Swanson, not the worst, not
Morel,
the best
they
lineup.
traded for Michael Bush.
Yeah.
They traded for Nick Madrigal. They just picked up Dominic Smith. I don't know that he'll make the team. Patrick Wisdom off the bench now. But their starting rotation's decent. Justin Steele's really good.
Of course, they lost Stroman, and they replaced him with Shota Imanaga.
I saw a
from
video.
Japan.
I saw a video of him yesterday. Now, again, take it for what it's worth. Spring training, they had the camera right behind the dish. Nasty. They were doing the overlay of his fastball and his slider, and I mean, it is nasty stuff. So we'll see how he translates to the big leagues. But you got to be excited about. It's a solid ass team, is what I'd call them an SAT, a solid ass team. And Craig Counsell should have them playing some pretty good baseball.
You feel like kind of like Blake Snell, Justin Steele, probably a candidate for regression,
potentially
a little bit at the top of their rotation, but even a little regression, he's going to be pretty good. Did add Hector Neris to their bullpen to give it a little more length and depth behind Adbert Alzolay, their closer. You figure right now they feel like around a 500-ish team.
Oh, I'd say
again.
I'd say
if they add Bellinger, then back to a fringe playoff contender again,
for sure.
Especially in a weak division.
You got something?
Well, yeah. Ben mentioned their collapse down the stretch. They missed the wild card by 1 game.
Correct.
Late in September against the Braves, they had a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs, and Seiya Suzuki dropped a drop.
I remember
hit
that
him
one.
right in the glove.
Oh my God.
They had the lead in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs. They lost that game, missed the playoff spot by 1 game.
Holy cow.
I mean, the
forgot about
Marlins, the Diamondbacks at 84 wins, the Cubs at 83, the Reds and the Padres all at 82.
I do not think the Cubs are winning fewer games than the Marlins. Oh, last year.
Well, that was last year.
What are they projected to this year? Win total?
Their FanGraph projected win total
83.
So yeah, little around 500.
Now, Brewers, they still have the Brewers winning. Is this last year? No, this is 24. They have the Brewers winning 92 games.
Really?
That is
without Burns.
Without Burns, they just I don't know, man. Cubbies at 83.
They do have Gary Sanchez now.
That is true. It is finally official. That can't be right. I'm taking the under. I'm gonna do it right now.
It's the Brewers, though. It's like somehow they're
wins
going to
is a lot of wins for the Brewers.
I mean, they
Pat
can win,
Murphy.
They can win that division with 87. Why bother winning 92 when you don't need to win that division?
92 wins. Okay.
They could be in playoff position at the trade deadline and still sell off pieces.
Yeah.
They're the Milwaukee Brewers.
That is wild.
Yeah, as we said about the Cubs, one of their biggest strengths every year is that they get to play in the National League Central and not in the NL West or the NL East.
My website that I use, Ben, has them set at 75.5.
That sounds a
little better.
That's not as strong as an underpick at 92 as it is at 75. 75 seems a little low now.
Look at this: Chicago Cubs 24, NL.
They won 92 last year.
Okay, maybe that's what it
yeah.
was. Well, it says 24. Yeah, it doesn't have the. I need to find out what the projections are. But yeah, 75.5 feels a little bit more right. That was last year. Okay, makes sense.
All right, we will make our way through the NL Central this week and into next week. Switch over to the AL Central, and then we'll be out west. And then it'll be time to start Padres season in Korea on March 20th on opening day when we complete our Tier 1 tour. All right, it is 8:30. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, I want to finally get into that Jason Stark anonymous executive poll about some the winners, losers, moves in the offseason. And we'll hear from Xander Bogaerts, who sat down with our Sammy Levitt at spring training yesterday about his position change and more, all coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Well, if you're hoping for some secret pessimism about what the Dodgers did in the offseason, you're not going to find it from the group of anonymous executives that Jason Stark pulled in The Athletic.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
They were quite high on the LA Dodgers moves. Jason Stark does this every year. It's his spring training survey, and he talks to anonymous executives around the league and asks them just a series of questions. First one was, which
a hot dog, a sandwich.
Which team was the most improved in the National League? And you can choose 3 teams, but every single one of the 31 pretty much led off with the LA Dodgers are the most improved team. Diamondbacks got a bunch of votes as well.
A good offseason.
Some were so high on the Dodgers. One NL exec laid out his top 3 this way. Dodgers 1, Oklahoma City AAA Dodgers 2, Tulsa AA Dodgers 3 as the most improved in baseball. Another one just said Dodgers. How many games will the Dodgers win? One exec said 130. One said, look, I work for a lower budget NL team, so in some ways I can't stomach the Dodgers, but you have to admire not just that they do what they do, but they're awfully freaking good at it.
Yeah, you do a great job.
Yeah, there's some professional envy, but also some respect for the Dodgers around the league, and expectations are high, both anonymously and publicly for the LA Dodgers this season.
I'm going to say they don't win 130 games.
I would also say that seems
high. It's very high.
You can absorb 32 losses and that's it the entire year to get to 130.
As Brandon says, 130 wins to get bounced by the Rockies in the first round. Well, it's the layoff. I mean, how can these guys be expected to go out and perform after 4 days off? I mean, it's very difficult.
American League version, the Orioles and Yankees received the most votes, with the Royals also getting a bunch of votes for most improved on the American League side.
No love for the Cincinnati Reds, Ben. I'm like
the Reds were 5th on the most improved list.
I'm like weirdly excited to watch the Reds and the Royals this year. I've taken an interest in watching both of those teams that are in a similar type, not situation. We've got a lot more superstars than both of those teams do, but they got a lot of players that I absolutely love watching play the game of baseball, and I'm rooting for those guys. I am.
He also went the other direction, asking about the least improved teams, and the top 3 were the Marlins, the Rockies, and the Padres as the teams that did the least to improve their rosters from 2023.
In the entire NL.
Now, the Marlins went out today and signed Tim Anderson. So
right, but they've
proved themselves. The Rockies have done
nothing.
Have they done
anything?
The Padres, of course, worked on their bullpen a little bit, but they also lost the most in terms of trading Juan Soto and losing Blake Snell and Nick Martinez and Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo.
So what's the question? Improving your roster?
Improved team, essentially. Yeah. So, teams that went nowhere or backwards. And I think it's fair to include the Padres just based on who they lost.
But, I mean, if you look around the NL.
But they've done a lot more than those other teams.
They've done a lot more than the other teams. And like, what did the Phillies do to improve? They re-upped.
They signed Craig Kimbrell.
No, Kimbrell's an Oriole now.
That's right.
He's an Oriole. They lost Craig Kimbrell.
No one mentioned the Phillies, but
what have the Phillies done?
They're a decent team coming back, but they're the same team coming back.
It's without Kimbrell, they've re-upped Wheeler or Nola. And they're talking about Wheeler.
But that doesn't make you better. That just brings back the same player who's a year older. Yeah, they haven't done almost anything.
I mentioned Whit Merrifield. That's their big offseason acquisition.
I mentioned Kimbrell because I had the Orioles on my mind, wondering if they were on the least improved for the AL side, because I know they got Corbin Burns, but they're a team that won 100 games, and you'd think this is their time. Go make some big upgrades.
They were the most improved according to the voters.
Because of Burns.
Because of
Kimbrell and Burns?
Yeah, because of Burns, essentially. Essentially the acquisition of one guy. I mean, even execs are subject to the same kind of whims that we are. Now, least improved on the AL side, this was kind of funny. The Red Sox and White Sox were both there. The A's got the most votes, though, of least improved. Jason Stark took it a step further, though. He challenged the 31 anonymous executives to name 6 Oakland A's.
Oh, man.
And not a single one of them.
Oh, my God.
Even really wanted to attempt to answer the question.
Can you do it?
All right.
6 Oakland A's. I don't think I could do it.
Ryan Noda. Pull up their roster. Ryan Noda. Brent Rooker.
Estuary Ruiz.
There you go. A lot of stolen bases out of the former Padre.
Tongue twister.
Would we have known him if he wasn't a former Padre?
Probably not.
Zach Geloff, second baseman.
Zach Geloff is there.
Very good.
That's
Adam.
4.
That's 4.
You're correct on all
There's
of them.
3 brains in here, by the way.
Yeah.
trying to
Any
figure this
pitchers? Those are really hard.
out.
I mean, really hard.
Is there closer Jimenez? Oh, they just signed
Bobby. There's a
Jimenez, right?
Is there no
yeah, there is a Danny Jimenez.
Dan Jimenez,
who was signed as a free agent a year ago.
Not Bobby Miller. Bobby. Is there a Bobby pitcher? Bobby. It's like
Shea Langoliers.
Shea Langoliers. Yeah.
Is the
Who's
catcher.
the Bobby?
There is no Bobby.
There's
on
a
the team.
Bobby. I had him on my fantasy team last year.
No, I see no Bobby on the roster right now, unless he's on the injured list somewhere. No Bobby.
I believe he is.
No Bobbies.
There's a Bobby, Ben.
There's no Bobby. There's no Bobby.
Mason Miller. It's close. That's who I had on my team.
The Bobby you were thinking of,
I think Bobby
was
Miller, Mason Miller. Yeah.
Miller.
Mason Bobby Miller, obviously. Bro. Oh, Trevor Gott. I know that name. Yeah, dude. This is Ross Stripling, Alex Wood. Okay.
Yeah, those are 2 known names.
Iggy Andujar, Seth Brown. Seth Brown is a guy that everyone talks
their
about. Their
projected third baseman right now is former Padre Abraham Toro.
Just naming the manager count.
That is
Marcotte.
Marcotte.
I know that
He
one.
is, an Oakland A.
That's a very anonymous team you've got right
It
there,
is.
though.
It is. I'm pulling for him, though.
Couple of other observations from Jason Stark. The worst free agent signings of the offseason, according to the anonymous executives. Lucas Giolito is number 1 for the Boston Red Sox, but the next 2 were both San Francisco Giants. Jordan Hicks and Jung Ho Lee were considered 2 of the 3 worst free agent signings.
Jordan Hicks and Jung Ho Lee, both by the Giants.
Both considered bad signings. I mean, Lee seemed like a big overpay. Obviously, the Padres were in on Lee, but nowhere near where the Giants were willing to eventually go when it came to the salary that he was able to command.
Who talked us out of Giolito being a bad deal? Chris Rose or Eno Saris? Innings eater. Yeah. It's important. It's important, but the price tag was really, really through the roof.
No real consensus on the best free agent bargain of the winner. Reese Hoskins got 4 votes.
He made what, 14?
30 million.
30 for 2.
For 2 years.
Doesn't feel bargaining to me.
Coming off an injury season, but I guess they just kind of dreamed on him returning to being the power threat that he was. So, yeah, I mean, those are what actual people in baseball, anonymous executives, had to say about some of the moves that went on in the offseason.
Well, I do like the under the radar bit for the San Diego Padres. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, they talked about it on MLB Network yesterday. And everyone said, listen, I think they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder, as Tony Gwynn Jr. mentioned as well. And the expectations are kind of off. These guys are seemingly more focused on playing together. And, we'll see if any of that crap turns out to be true, because that's all it is right now it's just hot air at this point, but we'll see if they can actually perform on the field. And but I like where everything's going so far. I mean, obviously, there's 3 holes I would love. Oh, that's weird. There are 3 open spots that I would like to fill.
Of course,
no.
Last year the Padres would have been on the other side of the list. Most improved teams, partially because of their acquisition of Xander Bogaerts. He is back for a second season.
You're just going to plow through that.
When we come back from traffic, we're going to hear Sam
right through it.
I'm not going to bring it up. You're
Tom
the one.
Rathman. Mike
Alstott. Full backing it.
Oh my God.
Lorenzo Neal was always my favorite with the
that was a big
Chargers.
Mike Alstott guy. Loved him. All right, let's go to
we're going to go to traffic and then Xander Bogaerts.
Oh my God, Adam.
With our Sam Levitt when we come back
right
here
now.
on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danek.
Several problems here. A crash did clear up on northbound 805 near 8th Street. We still have this other one up ahead, though, at 47th Street. It's over the right shoulder. Now getting reports of a vehicle fire northbound 5, right around Main and Division. It's over the right shoulder. And accident involving a motorcycle westbound 8 at the 67. That's over the right shoulder. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Xander Bogaerts getting a lot of praise for some team-first attitudes here this spring with the San Diego Padres. The position change to second base, which we will see him out there today, playing second base and batting second for your San Diego Padres. But wanted to bring a couple of clips up. Sammy Levitt talked to Xander Bogaerts.
Just play the whole thing in its entirety,
Padres
please.
Spring training. Here's a couple minutes for you.
Now that you've had a handful of days there, how's it going?
I mean, it's been different. I'm definitely looking forward to the challenge. I know it will be some good days and some bad days. That all comes with trying to make adjustments and learning something new. I'm always open to learning, always open to listening, and might be a little different transition because I'm normally in front of all the plays, being a shortstop, but now I'm kind of behind the plays. I don't really see much what's going on here, so I can't wait to get into games. I mean, I've been practicing, but I know the games is much different because I've played on the second base of the infield on some shifts, so I know sometimes it can be a little tough. So hopefully I can get adjusted to that as quick as possible.
Is there any part of learning all this that is fun, enjoyable, like something for somebody as accomplished as you, something that is a little bit new?
I think I was always that guy that was willing to learn, willing to learn. I mean, in anything in general, and extremely open to challenges and just, I think that comes with me just never being satisfied with anything that I do. And this is another challenge, this is one that I knew maybe one day, it would probably have to have happened, or maybe another position, whatever, but always open to it, always definitely willing to learn, want to learn. And, as I said, the only tough thing for me is I don't really see that guy. I wouldn't say I'm a little afraid. I mean, I don't really know what's going on here. There's a lot of trust that I have to have going on in myself and the way I'm around the base, so preventing anything from happening.
We're talking about the physical side of playing second base. How about the mental side? Because I thought the other day when you spoke for the first time about it, I thought you said all the right things, and it showed a team-first mentality. Now that you've had a few days to sit with it, from the mental standpoint, how does it feel?
I like it. I like it. I feel like it'll be a little less taxing on your body, probably. But yeah, as I said, it's probably my preference after shortstop. That would be a good place to go. Not that I wanted to go there or something like that. But yeah, definitely now that we had that conversation, it's over with, and I got to talk to AJ to see if I can get some games at shortstop when Kim is having an off day. I got to talk to AJ about that.
Okay, well, maybe they'll work with you.
I hope so. AJ and Chelsea.
Let me ask you.
I love that, by the way.
Let me ask you, Woods.
I'm ready to run through a wall kind of right now.
Does Xander Bogaerts deserve some patience?
Yes.
From fans this year?
Of course.
I mean, I get it. I mean, it sounds logical to me as well. You're asking him to change his position, completely different perspective.
Yeah.
Different pivots at second base, different side of the infield after he has played exclusively shortstop for a very long time.
Bro, I was talking to a buddy the other day that played in the minor leagues, and I asked him about that change. And he goes, I'm so nervous for him because he likes Xander a lot. And he said, moving positions in Little League is tough. Moving positions in high school is very difficult. Moving positions in adult ball is hard. He goes, I can't even imagine. He's short, all your momentum's coming towards first base. Second, you have to stop, recharge build it all up to make the throws. He goes, coming across the bag. He goes, I'm a wreck for him. So the answer is unequivocally, yes, he's going to look like a buffoon a couple of times. There's no doubt. I mean, it happens to the best of them.
But it is a rarity that guys who are making $285 million in contracts are afforded a lot of patience from fan bases. They're expected to,
as long as
already be final products and be good and proven, and they know what they're doing.
They paid for that bat. The bat needs to play.
Patience with the fielding.
Patience in the field.
But you better not carry it over to the plate and get off to a slow start because you've been so worried about your position change.
You're gonna be.
There are expectations still on Xander Bogaerts.
Of course, everybody gets patience at the beginning of the year. Nobody, you ever see a guy come out and hit 500 for a season? You ever see a guy hit 400 since Ted Williams? No, it's a effing hard game, dude. So. Guys are going to get off to slow starts. Guys are going to get off to hot starts. Eric Hosmer won the MVP in April every year he was here. I've never seen a better hitter. He was Ted Williams in April. I would pick him up beginning of the year on my fantasy team. I'd drop him May 1st. He was unbelievable. 6 bombs, 30 RBI, batted 500 with runners in scoring position. It was incredible. So guys are going to get off to slow starts. Xander got off to a scorching hot start last year. Scorching. So I expect the bat to play. In the field, though, yeah, he deserves a little patience.
A couple more minutes. We got one more clip here of Sammy with Xander Bogaerts from yesterday.
A lot of superstars in that clubhouse, no secret. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, the list goes on and on. From a leadership standpoint, entering year 2 here in San Diego, how do you view that for yourself, the leadership part of it?
I just think continue being vocal, and I mean, whenever you see something that's not being done the right way, you just let them know, and no hard feelings. They shouldn't think like you don't like him or you dislike him or you have a problem with them, especially coming from the young guys. Like, I know we have a lot of young guys that hopefully at some point comes up and help us, because we know our prospect list is pretty hot, pretty solid guys coming up in the minors. So excited to see that group and excited to be able to work with that group. I know the transition for some of those guys might not be as smooth. You would all hope that all of them would blossom into the player that everyone hopes that they will become right away, but sometimes it's it doesn't really go that way. So excited for that, and what's crazy is we still have a lot of talent at the big league level with experience. So I feel like blending in those two is huge, because the years that I've been successful as a team, you always have to have a couple of guys come up from that farm system and play pretty good, you know. So hopefully this year is the year, and we continue to build something that's very sustainable.
Yeah, superstars mixed in with some young and really hungry guys.
Keep us young. I feel young. I don't know if it's that second base thing going on, but hopefully it stays that way.
Big fan of Xander Bogaerts. Interesting point in the chat made by one Brian Yono. Did you see this? He said, it's interesting that Xander said he'd talk to AJ to get some games at short. You'd think that would be a manager's decision. That is an interesting point that Brian makes that I guess I didn't think twice about when he said it. But that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they are what
it's
what
collaborative.
Collaborative.
It's collaborative.
It's what's the other word? What was the buzzword early? Not synergy. It was collaborative.
Elite?
No. It was a word they were all throwing out, all the brass and Mike Schill. Damn it.
We hear from all different voices. We get
what's the word?
Perspective.
Intentional?
No.
He said intentional a lot.
He did. That's an interesting point, though. Like, hey, I'd like to play some short when Ha-Sung Kim needs a rest.
Well,
I'll go talk to AJ Preller.
I think it's interesting that Xander's batting second today.
Holistic.
Holistic.
That was the word. Yeah, it's a very holistic approach.
Xander's batting second today. He told us first week of spring training last year. I don't like hitting second. He says, I always get great numbers when I'm hitting second, but why doesn't he not like getting great numbers? It doesn't help the team as much. I never totally understood it. If you're getting great numbers, you should be helping the team if you're batting second. I have not heard one peep about Xander not wanting to hit second this year, and guess where he's hitting today? Second, playing second for your San Diego Padres. Might as well wear number 2 while you're at it if you're going to just do all those things.
That is an interesting little comment there. Let's make a mountain out of that.
AJ runs the team. Is that a mountain, or is that a well-established fact at this point?
Fair enough. It's a holistic approach.
Final hour, we're going to talk to Sammy Levitt live and in person next here on The Fan.
Hey, it's
Hour of Bennett Woods is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Welcome back. Final hour. Heading until 10 o'clock, Annie and Elston. They will take you to 12 o'clock. And Padres baseball for the first time in 2024 here on 97.3 The Fan. Ultimately, if everything goes as well as possible, Adam, how many spring games are we covering?
We'll carry 13
13 spring games, 162 regular season games. That's 175. And if, things break right and you get to October, make a deep run, you can get as many as 20 to 25 more at some point. So maybe up to, 200 baseball games beginning today.
The new show, so the new show, Annie and Nelson, they already get a 2-hour reprieve. This is unbelievable.
His mind goes right there.
This is incredible.
Don't forget that Gwen and Chris get a short show today, too.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
On the back end.
I'm in here hacking up along. It's unbelievable.
Tony might have a short broadcast.
He might have a short broadcast.
Well, you can't expect Tony to come back and do a show after he did all the driving.
Right.
I just mean he might not be there for the first inning.
So.
Adam over here always telling me, well, we got to keep it fair. Well, then keep it fair. Keep it. I'm leaving right now. You guys got this. Good Lord.
Before we get to Sammy Levitt, I want to harken back to a don't do this story.
The days of yore
I mentioned earlier. What did I tell you was a non-story?
Charlie Woods.
Charlie Woods trying to qualify for a PGA Tour event. And why was it a non-story? Because anyone can do it. And he wasn't going to qualify. Charlie Woods shot an 86 today, including a 12 on the par 4 7th hole, and did not qualify for a PGA Tour event.
Do you know?
End of story. Thank you very much for playing.
Do you know the kind of deviancy that I would exhibit to shoot an 86 again at some point? I mean,
he bounced back with the 39 on the back after the 47 on the front.
So now you mentioned it, and you're dragging this 16-year-old kid after shooting 15-year-old kid after making
the media
86.
for making it a
You're
story.
the media. You're the media.
Making it a story that it's not a story.
Oh, Lord, poor kid. I hope he recovers.
Poor kid. I'm sure he's bummed today.
You are covering it right now, correct?
Yeah,
Ben?
you're literally covering. As he gets into a gold-plated helicopter and flies off to his next endeavor, he'll be fine.
All right, let's go out to Peoria, Arizona. We've already heard a bunch from him actually today with some great interviews. Jay Cronenworth, just heard Xander Bogaerts, and dropping, I believe now, and if you can go on the social media channels, he also talked with Padres pitching prospect Robbie Snelling. Sammy Levitt, Sammy Spring Training, joins us here on 97.3 The Fan. Sammy, good morning.
Gentlemen, good morning. And I commiserate with Woods that he doesn't get the hours off during the Padres games. But I will say, Woodsy, doesn't it make it that much sweeter when I waltz in for those East Coast weekday day games? You get a little hour, middle of June, middle of July. Makes it that much sweeter.
The Padres and Pancakes 2 days a year event that we have. Yes, it's very, it really soothes me. Sammy, no, I'm just kidding. I love this. I love being in here with Ben and Adam. It's the highlight of my day. The lights are glistening off of Adam's bald head right now, staring me right in the face. It's been a fun morning, Sammy, and you knocked it out of the park yesterday. We just played your interview with Xander. What a dude. I mean, really, like, I was nervous last week when the announcement was made. I was homesick, and I saw the thing, and I'm like, man, he looks a little bit perturbed. He doesn't seem perturbed at all. He seems pretty loose and having fun with it all.
That first day he spoke, he said he was at peace with it, right? And I know there were a lot of opinions as to what he said and the body language. It seemed like everybody was sort of looking at it and coming away with different takeaways. But my takeaway that day, and when I spoke to him yesterday, was that he's handled this, in my opinion, about as well as you could have hoped for somebody as accomplished as him, for somebody who signed a contract as a shortstop for the amount of money he did. And I thought it came off that way during the interview I did with him yesterday. I thought the openness to learning and getting better at second base and putting forth that team first mentality, as cliche as it all might sound, I think in this scenario, it's really important. So I continue to be really impressed with what he said, what he continues to do. I'll tell you that I've seen Jay Cronenworth talking to him a lot out there at second base the last handful of days. I know, and it's part of what we covered in the interview, I know that he's getting different pieces of advice from Jake and other people, and his teammates have been supportive of it. So I feel like he said all the right things, certainly doing the right things. His teammates have also said the right things about what he's done moving to second base. So we get to see it for the first time in game action. And one of the things, you may have played it, that Xander talked about was how important that game action would be, right? And it's something that Mike Schultz just talked about a few minutes ago when he was asked about the expectations for Xander there and what he wants to see moving forward. And, Mike talked about the nuances of playing second base, cutoffs, relays, depth, pivots, all the different elements that come with playing that side of the infield. So obviously it'll be a work in progress. You heard Xander say there will be good days, there will be bad days, but there's no doubt from what Mike Schultz said this morning and what you continue to hear that he is taken to it extremely well. And at this point, I think that's all you could ask for. And now we get to see it in a real game coming up.
Sammy Levitt is with us from Padres spring training in Peoria. Speaking of Mike Schultz, now that you've gotten to sit down with him daily for his media scrums, Annie and Elston made I thought an observant point yesterday, and they played some of the sound. The gathered media, AJ Cassavell, Kevin Acee, yourself, were trying to wheedle a little information out of him yesterday about the lineup for today's game, and he didn't really want to give it up yet. He hadn't talked to everybody, but he handled it with a very light and deft touch, kind of a playful. He doesn't get frustrated like sometimes, like a Bill Belichick type when he gets a question he doesn't want to answer. He had a light touch with it. Seemed like he keeps those sessions easy for everybody, and that's actually a skill for a manager who has to meet with the media so often over the course of the season. I've been impressed by him so far. I want to get your observations.
I have too. To me, it speaks to what we heard about Mike Schultz when he was hired, and that is that he's a people person, right? And he knows how to talk to people throughout an organization, and he has an interest in people throughout the organization. And I feel like that really comes off the same way when he talks to us formally every single morning. You're right, Ben. There is a lightness and a certain touch to it. I'll even give you another example from just a few minutes ago. Kevin Acee asked, might Manny Machado DH on Saturday back home here in Peoria? And of course, Mike Schultz wouldn't confirm that. But Mike did say, he might DH, and then kind of carried on, but quickly turned back to Kevin and said, might, in sort of a fun way. Yeah, there's definitely been a certain feel and lightness to those sessions, and he clearly just understands how to talk to people and sort of make you feel comfortable. So I think it's a really good observation. I think he's done a really nice job so far in these formal press conferences every morning with the media. And by the way, these, the Mike Schultz updates during spring training, especially the last week or so, there's not always that much to talk about new. There certainly are days where there's a lot to talk about that's new, but I'm with you. I've been really impressed, and I think it shows the people skills that we've heard about with Mike Schultz from the moment he was hired. I think it's all shined through really nicely.
By the way, I think people are, fans are going, what does it matter? Why does he not say that Manny's going to be a DH on Saturday? It's not some state secret. It's not even a competitive game. Why does it matter? The reason why managers don't give that information is because if he said today, Manny's going to, plan is for Manny to DH on Saturday. And if for whatever reason, Manny got up on the wrong side of the bed and, his elbow was just a little bit off on Saturday and then he didn't play, now all of a sudden that's a story that people are writing about. Manny scratched from the lineup, was supposed to play. Yeah. If you don't commit to it, you leave yourself some flexibility. You keep things from becoming stories that don't have to be stories. That's simply why managers don't say things they don't have to in these sessions.
Yeah, it goes back to the theme of what is one of the traits of a good manager. Typically, it's protecting your players. And I think that is part of protecting your players, is making sure, A, that you don't put them in a position where it creates any kind of controversy or any storyline involving them. And also being clear with your communication. I mean, who knows, what the conversations have been so far with Manny, and if that's something they've even broached, right? I mean, that may not even have been a conversation topic yet as to what he's doing Saturday. So again,
It shows the touch, the feel. Baseball, as you guys know, when it comes to the person-to-person interactions, it is so much about feel, right? And having feel for moments and feel for people and feel for situations. And to this point, it certainly seems like Mike Shildt has that feel.
Talking to our pal Sammy Levitt here on Ben and Woods this morning, checking in with you. It was funny. One of our listeners pointed out they were listening to your interview with Xander Bogaerts, and Xander said, "Yeah, if Ha-Seong Kim needs a day, I'll go play short." And he said, "I need to go ask AJ." And the guy said, "Well, wouldn't that be a manager's decision?" And I started laughing. I'm like, "Oh no, here we go." Did you catch that? And probably
I did.
Yeah. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I thought it was funny. I also thought it was pretty lighthearted. Like if you go watch the video, it's pretty lighthearted, the whole moment. But look, we know baseball in 2024, right? That there's a lot of collaboration on a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
And I know you talked to Bryce Miller earlier about the PT Road, about Bob Melvin and AJ Preller, and obviously a lot's been written about that. Look, that piece and what transpired in the last year in the manager's seat, it does speak to whatever word you want to use, alignment, collaboration, how important that is. So I thought that particular moment was kind of lighthearted, but the idea that, AJ would be on that kind of decision, I don't think would be the most shocking thing in the world with
the puppet master.
Not just the Padres and not just the Padres and this front office, but I think that true of a
100%.
lot of front offices. Even the teams that are winning World Series, I think it's all true. But I didn't read too much into any of that from Xander yesterday.
Well,
I thought it was pretty lighthearted.
Adam forced me to ask that question. I wanted to ask you about the salad supply out at spring training. That's really more my speed. Sammy. How have Trader Joe's, are they restocked? Are you guys still fighting over salads out there? I was very interested in the salad content.
No salad situation today. I did have an error on my part yesterday, though, because I had brought a Trader Joe's salad with me to the ballpark, and then I left it in my car for about 2 hours. So then there was a debate, and I asked AJ Castro, and he wasn't sure either. And I said, well, how long could this sit in my car, and will I get ill from eating it if it sat for 2 hours? Which didn't seem that long to me, and it didn't have any meat in it. So I said, all right, probably good. But then it got to lunchtime, and I was like, I don't want to make myself sick by eating. I mean, it's like a $5 salad. So I just went over to
I think you're
another
okay.
place.
You're not okay.
Yeah.
Also, Odyssey is
it's
paying.
almost all
Odyssey,
vegetables.
Odyssey will pay for
vegetables
that.
grow outside to begin with. It can be, vegetables can be outside for a while. Don't have to be I mean, if it's already dressed and stuff, then I'd say no. But if it's simply just salad stuff sitting there, and it's not 100 degrees right now, Sammy, right? It's it's fairly reasonable. I think you'd be just fine. For a couple
hot
hours.
lettuce, hot tomatoes.
Well, you put it in the fridge, cool it down again. But I don't think it's going to get.
You're unbelievable.
Particularly damaged.
It probably would have been okay.
Can't you get
I
like
agree,
listeria or something? You can get something. What can you get from that? Yeah. You don't leave salads out in the boiling heat or in the heat. They're in the car, so it's like being in an oven. Would you like to heat up your salad in a microwave?
In the morning, though. It wasn't like the hottest portion of the day.
Well, what time's lunch? Noon.
He said a couple of hours, morning hours.
Yeah. Well, it was a couple hours until I realized that I left it out there.
Yeah,
so.
just toss it. Adam will cover it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that was fine.
So we have another video up now. You talked with Robbie Snelling. Who is Robbie Snelling? Other than Padres pitching prospect, had a really good season last year, obviously. But who is this kid?
Well, he's a former 4-star linebacker, and when you see him up close, you can see that because he's big and he's broad. So he's somebody who played for his dad, playing high school football, and also played baseball at the same time, and ultimately took the baseball route, and is somebody that just turned 20 and is somebody that had a tremendous amount of success. But as you'll hear in the interview with him, he does not seem very fazed by that success, by the expectations, by being inside the clubhouse, by really any of it. I really enjoyed it. And I came away with, a feeling of he's very confident about his ability, about being where he is right now. And there's no part of him that's intimidated or phased by it. So, yeah, he's very, very interesting guy. We talk in that interview in a bunch of the clips. I haven't put them all out yet, but we talk about his football life. We talk about his pitch mix. You know, his fastball, his curveball are considered really, really good already. Working on the changeup, as we all know, that third pitch for a starting pitcher is so important when you get to the major leagues. So he likes where that pitch is at, how it's developed, and I think that's certainly going to be a focus on for him moving forward this season. But you know, former linebacker, has that body type. He talked about bringing that foot. One thing I'll tell you this. One thing he talked about that was really interesting. He was talking about how earlier in his career, he brought sort of a football mentality onto the mound and has had to learn how to be more of a pitcher instead of a football player throwing a baseball, if that makes sense. And you can listen to his full answer. But that was an interesting, you know, part of it where he talked about, you know, really learning how to be a pitcher instead of maybe somebody who felt, you know, more like a football mindset that was throwing a baseball. So I think it's a good reminder of how young he is. I mean, he's only 20. He talks about working with Ethan Salas. And one thing he said about Ethan Salas, and we've talked about how, you know, how much he's grown and how big and broad he is that he's a big target and he's easy to throw to. I mean, we've all talked about how mature he is and his age and all of it, but, you know, that's an interesting thing to hear just from a guy who's worked with Salas quite a bit about just throwing to him and the fact that he's a big target, and that is important. So really good interview, enjoyed it, and had a chance to talk to Adam Mazer as well a couple of days ago that I got to put out. And he's another highly touted prospect. So, hey, it's interesting in there. You got a lot of talent, a lot of young guys, and obviously a lot of opportunity abound right now.
Well, it would be at least somewhat ironic if the Padres ended up replacing Blake Snell with Robbie Snelling.
You are the first person to ever think of that. Yeah.
Well, it's just the name thing. The name. Oh, God. The name comparison between the two names. They both start with Snell. You'll get it. Don't worry.
Sense of
give you the
Snell.
break to get it. You'll get it for sure. Sammy, good work as always. We will catch up
Can't
with
do
you one
this
more time
anymore,
this week
man.
tomorrow.
All right, guys. Enjoy the game.
Sam Levitt, Sammy Spring Training. He'll get to be sitting there in the Peoria Sports Complex Stadium for Padres Dodgers this afternoon. You can hear it here on 97.3 The Fan. All right, I will reward you for putting up with me. I've got a Spirit of the Barrio update for you. Another twist and turn.
No way.
In the saga.
You just brought this
I
up.
know. It's taken another major turn again yesterday afternoon.
You're kidding.
No. No, let's just say we're back, baby. We're back.
Back to the barrio you go.
Back to the barrio.
Yes.
After a check of traffic on
I'm
97.3 The
dead.
Fan. college basketball on last night that I doubt you watched, but some terrific endings of games, including New Mexico beating Colorado State in the ever-crowded Mountain West race. They went back and forth baskets over the last 20 seconds or so, and then the Lobos hung on for a 2-point win. So they are tied with the Aztecs for third now, behind Boise State and Utah State. And Colorado State, which is still ranked 22nd in the country, drops all the way to 6th place with their 6th conference loss. That's how quick it goes. One day you're ranked 22nd in the country and you're battling for first. The next day you lose by 2 on the road and you're in 6th place in the conference. So, and there were a bunch of buzzer beaters in college basketball last night with some entertaining hoops that I was keeping an eye on. But I was at work yesterday. I also got an email. Told you a few weeks ago that I had been kindly invited to MC the first Spirit of the Barrio Luncheon.
Who better?
For the year.
Who better?
Coming up early next month. And it's an annual tradition where they get community leaders together. They have a lunch program with tamales and speakers. And they said, we're going to have a kind of a Padres themed one. And we thought you'd be perfect to be our MC. And I said, sure, I've done it before. It's been a few years though. Happy to step up. It'll be the Friday after we get back from spring training. So next Friday, a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
And I was all in. And then a few days later, I got word that I was out.
We talked about it on the air, and we got nervous because they pulled it.
They did. You thought maybe I wasn't barrio enough.
Correct.
We went through my history and my credentials and my background.
We
Ben
found
Franco.
out Ben Franco was actually your
my Mexican heritage that's
right.
on my mother's side.
That's right.
And but I was out. They had someone else. They double booked. We'll get you at another date. Fine, whatever. I serve at the pleasure of the president, sort of thing. And,
correct.
If you don't need me, you don't need me. Then yesterday, I get the email and they said,
"Oh boy,
the guy that we double booked with, who was going to MC the Spirit of the Barrio Luncheon instead of you, can't do it anymore. So can we count on you at the last minute now, with just a week to go, to be our MC for the Spirit of the Barrio Luncheon next Friday?" And I said,
$5,000.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I was promised all the tamales I could both eat and take home with me at the end of the day.
How does that make you feel? If I was
full of tamales.
No, if I was your therapist, Gassy, if I were your therapist and you came in and told me this story, I would say, how do you feel
They said
about that?
I was their first and third choice for the job.
Well, I mean, if you were their first choice, they would have.
I was the second and third choice and fourth choice
for the job. Now,
at
this has
point,
happened to you in radio as well.
If I get the word next week that, as it turns out, they did find someone else, and
Mud
you're out
Grant
again,
said he can do it.
At this point, I will start feeling a little bit insecure about the whole process.
Like they're jostling you around
a little bit.
They're messing with your emotions.
No, they said, we can lock it in. We're going to promote it.
It's done.
You're done. You're the guy now. And I said, yeah, okay, I am the guy. I will be there next Friday to MC the Spirit of the Barrio Luncheon. And I will channel my Barrio spirit to the best of my ability. And I will be out there having a good time next Friday, back in the saddle, in the Barrio.
In the Barrio.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just, I mean, that's.
Now, the tamales are good. I don't know if they're as good as the Kraft tacos we had from the Kraft Taco yesterday. Those are hard to beat.
You always want to be somebody's first choice. You never want to be somebody's third
But wouldn't
choice.
you rather be the ultimate choice? Isn't that better than being the first, second, or third choice? The guy who actually ends up as the choice, the guy who gets the job
by default,
right?
Like
you did on this show. You weren't necessarily the first choice. There was like Derek, and there was
he had a shot.
Yeah, there were other people who got shots before you, but you were the final choice. You were the ultimate choice for the job. They didn't say first thing, we need to put Ben with a co-host. Let's go right to Stephen Woods. You're the first guy that everyone thought of. You weren't the first guy that apparently everyone thought of, but you were the last guy, and you were the best guy.
That's
for
weird
the job.
because I never looked at it like I was like an add-on. You know what I mean?
You were very much like nothing else is working, and we'll try anything at this point.
Well, I mean, likewise.
Let's go with this guy Woods.
Let's be honest.
If it makes you feel any better, you were the first choice when we brought you over here to 97.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, I mean, listen. I hope you have a good time.
Would you like to come with me?
No, I would
enjoy.
not.
I get you a spot at a table.
Absolutely not. I'm good. I've got so many things going on. I'm emceeing a couple of events as well. I've just got just giving back to the community.
You've got an MC gig coming up right after the show today.
I do. Going to go out and MC the ribbon cutting. Ben. Yes.
Do you get to actually cut the ribbon,
Probably
or
not.
do you just talk about other people with the giant novelty scissors?
Yeah, talk about them
cutting the ribbon.
The SEALs in partnership with Rady Children's Hospital and the Ryan Family YMCA in Point Loma. They're hosting a special press event, Ben, the ribbon cutting ceremony today at 11. And I will.
This is our second ribbon cutting. I mean, you
In
went
like
to
the last 2
the
weeks.
PLNU Padres lab a couple of weeks ago. Now, a practice facility ribbon cutting. You're Mr. Ribbon Cutting San Diego.
This is the deal, man. So I'm excited about that. Get to see some of the boys and get ready for a home game tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, they will also be cutting the ribbon on the San Diego Mojo, the new volleyball team, kind of, sort of.
Where are they playing?
Viejas.
Viejas.
It's not a new venue. It's actually an established venue, but the new team, their first ever home game is tomorrow night against the Grand Rapids Rise. And right now, we're giving away a 4-pack of tickets. You want to see some professional women's volleyball action here in San Diego? Be the third caller at 833-288-0973. Third caller, we're going to hook you up with a 4-pack of tickets. Be the first to check out our new team, the San Diego Mojo. Bringing the heat to Viejas Arena all season long. You can go to SanDiegoMojoVB.com to get your own tickets, but call now to win, 833-288-0973. All right, we will wrap things up. Final segment, Annie and Elston, Padres baseball. If you missed the lineup, we've got it for you for the first Padres game of the season. We may even have a Dodgers lineup for you here shortly as well. Coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
of people are saying in the chat, Ben, that you should eat a bean for your meanness. And Ben is not a really mean guy.
Not going to do it. I'm
it's
not
cutting.
being mean. I'm not trying to even be cutting.
It's cutting. When
I was
Ben
trying
is mean,
to praise you and say that you
I
were
was the third choice.
You were the right choice. You were the ultimate choice. But you weren't the first person that the. Admittedly, I think the short-sighted management that we had at the other place. They didn't go to you first, it wasn't the first idea.
I'm not going to make you eat a bean.
Thank you. I don't think I deserve to eat a bean for that.
They want you to. The fans
they always want me to eat a bean.
I know. The fans
There's nothing
that
the chat loves more than seeing me eat a bean. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. Don't think it's going to happen right now. I don't really feel like eating a bean. We're all coming off illness. The last thing you really want to see is bean destruction.
Bean vomit.
In the studio this morning.
All right.
I have not seen a lineup from the visiting Los Angeles Dodgers yet. I thought they might put one out. We did get one earlier from your San Diego Padres, though, for their very first spring training game, which will be heard right here on 97.3 The Fan, starting at 12 o'clock coverage. First pitch at 12:10 with Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr., who is now probably in Winter Haven, California.
Oh, my God.
Trying to race his way to the press box in time for the first pitch.
I wish we had like a GPS on him right now. We could just check his location.
Tracking Tony.
Make your calls, guys. We'll check it back tomorrow. Is he going to be there for first pitch?
I think he will be. I think he will
first pitch
be
is
there.
What, noon our time?
12:10.
12:10 our time.
Broadcast will start.
I mean, you've already hooked up with Dave Marcus. Check the connection. Dave he'd be much more stressed sounding right now if he thought Tony wasn't going to make it.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a spring training game. They let me call a spring training game. It's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. We want it to be good and sound good and all that. Everyone wants to, it's a dress rehearsal, if you will.
Jesse will have good tidbits, though. He's been there for a few days chatting with everybody. He'll be well prepared. Had his newsletter out yesterday. Like Jesse, I signed up finally to actually get into my inbox. Usually I just get it on social media, but I've officially signed up for Jesse's irregular newsletter that he puts out. He has his spring training, his rankings of spring training ballparks in Arizona. Did the second half of his, he likes them all, he said.
Yeah.
Jesse's like me. He's pretty nice when it comes to things, but even the bad ballparks like Maryvale,
I wonder
he's
if
had nice things to say about.
I wonder if he would throw his partner under the bus and say that Tony Gwynn Jr. wasn't, the first choice. But the ultimate choice is how you spin that.
It's the ultimate choice. He was the ultimate choice. Here's your lineup if you missed it earlier for today's game. Starting in right field, the Platinum Glove winner, none other than Fernando Tatis Jr. himself. Xander Bogaerts, batting second, playing second, wearing number 2. He is just the man of all the twos. Xander will hit second today. Jake Cronenworth will play first base and bat third. Luis Camposano behind the plate, batting cleanup. Ha-Sung Kim is now your shortstop. He will bat fifth today. Jackson Merrill will indeed start in left field, hitting sixth for the Padres. Eggy Rosario is the third baseman instead of Manny Machado today, who will remain on the bench for the time being, but should get into a game soon. He'll hit seventh. Cal Mitchell is the DH today, batting eighth, and Jose Azocar Sugar out in center field, batting ninth, with Joe Musgrove on the mound, just expected to get the 1 inning of work for Joe, one of 5 spring training starts that should then set him up hopefully to be ready to throw, 5 or 6 innings in the Padres, one of the 2 openers in Korea next month.
Do we have an idea on who's backing up Joe?
I heard Yuki Matsui's going to pitch, but beyond that, maybe 9 innings, 9 guys is probably what Mike Schultz and Ruben Niebla are kind of looking at today. So you'll probably get a few of the bullpen regulars. You'll probably get a couple of the minor leaguers getting some action as well deep into the games, but no set schedule as to who we're going to get in today's game.
Is it weird that I'm nervous?
A little bit. I mean, you did put some money on the game, right?
Well, that has nothing to do with it. Is it weird that I'm nervous? I just, I'm excited. Baseball's back, and I'm always
results don't mean anything today. I mean, if I had one wish,
health. That's it.
Health is the biggest wish.
Always
if
prayer.
There's a performance wish, I'd like to see Jackson Merrill looking comfortable, maybe hit a line drive somewhere, just, get out to a good start at spring training.
And I'll tell you guys one thing. He's been in the biggest moments. He's won a World Series. There's no one on the field whose heart is beating faster than Xander Bogaerts today for that first ground ball, that first pop-up in the infield, that very first contact that comes his way at second base. That's just a fact of life. If he was standing at short, the heart rate would be considerably less. But the fact that he's standing at second base, Jackson Merrill's heart rate's going to be through the roof. He's a kid. But Xander Bogaerts, who has done it on the biggest stages many times, is probably a wreck right now. You just want to get that first one, and you hope the very first guy wraps one your way, a six-hopper, and make the play at first base and get it out of the way. I can promise you he is vomiting.
I've got a Dodgers lineup
right,
for you as well. And not officially from their account, but someone seems to have picked it up from Glendale there. Mookie Betts will lead off and play second base, the new second baseman, making a position change. He's not the only one. Xander Bogaerts and Mookie Betts, both full-time second basemen now. Chris Taylor at shortstop batting second. James Outman will be in center field hitting third. Teoscar Hernandez, his Dodgers spring debut in left field, batting fourth. Austin Barnes is the catcher, batting fifth. Gavin Lux returns. He will DH today, batting sixth. Chris Owings is the third baseman, batting seventh. And I just clicked on something and lost it. Hang on, I get it back. Andy Pages is the right fielder hitting eighth. And Kevin Padlow is the first baseman batting ninth, with Gavin Stone, right-hander, on the mound for at least one inning for the game against the San Diego Padres.
I have never heard of Kevin Padlow. I expect him to hit 3 bombs today and make some defensive.
Little spring fodder. The travel squad, usually when you go on the road, the last 3 or 4 guys in the lineup tend to be the non-roster invites, the guys who probably aren't going to make the team, but need to get some action and get in there anyway. So, Kevin Padlow and Andy Pages and Chris Owings, I don't think are going to be critical members of the 2024 Dodgers, but they will be the bottom end of the lineup today against the San Diego Padres.
East County Chris in the chat says it's just a deep shortstop for Jackson Merrill in left field. That's true. That's a good way to look at it. It's just a very, very deep shortstop. And
you don't want any collisions between Xander and Tatis on a shallow fly ball, or between Ha-Seong Kim and Jackson Merrill with any communication issues. Remember, was it Kim and Tommy Pham who had a collision?
Tommy
out in
Pham's
pretty bad
collided
one
with 15% of active big leaguers, I think, right now in Major League.
Both during the game, before the game, a lot of collisions involving Tommy Pham.
Yeah, so I'm
fantasy football teammates, opponents.
Yeah,
he will collide with everybody,
and he's out of a job right now. He's still sitting around waiting for a phone call. So it'll be interesting to see if the phone starts ringing today for some of these guys, Cody Bellinger and the like. But it's going to be interesting. Make your predictions. Where do you guys think these guys are going to end up going? Where Cody Bellinger back to the Cubs is seemingly, like you said earlier, maybe a foregone conclusion, maybe just ironing out some details. I have no idea. I saw rumors last night of Snell to the Yankees still, which I think makes sense. They weren't too keen on that on MLB Network. They said, I don't know if he can pitch in New York. Like Blake can pitch anywhere. Blake's a good big game pitcher. He was good in the playoffs. He pitched in the AL East. I know Florida and New York are different, but I don't really – he's going to start slow, I would imagine, wherever he goes, whether it's Anaheim or whether it's New York or Boston.
I know I brought them up earlier, but that feels like a perfect move for the Orioles, right? Like maybe there's not a huge market for him. Swoop in, get the Cy Young Award winner, add him to that rotation, make a run. They just, they lost Kyle Bradish. Like the Orioles, I'm fascinated by them. Like I feel like they need to go make some moves.
And I think Jordan Montgomery makes sense for 20 teams right now. Your beloved Atlanta Braves could use a Jordan Montgomery. I mean, he's a guy that's proven it. He can do it on the biggest stage. He's a gamer. He's a grinder. Like that guy's a really good fit. So really interesting to see where that all shakes out.
All right, we got one more check of traffic here. Adam, still all right. One last check of traffic, and then we'll wrap things up. Get you ready for Annie and Elston here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
We were wrapping things up accident-free on our roads, guys. But keep in mind, the recent rains have left us with a lot of potholes on our roadways. Caltrans doing their best to remedy that situation. So if you see those workers out there, please be extra careful as you pass them. Even move over a lane if it's safe to do so. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we've got a little over 2 hours, 10 minutes to go until our first Padres broadcast of the season. Looking forward to that coming up today. Again, no Manny Machado, but Mike Schilt does expect him to get into a game fairly soon as a designated hitter. And the way things are progressing, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him at third base in a week or two.
Yep.
He's taking ground balls and throwing pretty much every day.
Yep.
In defiance of what we were told to expect from Manny. Like the first day he was like fielding and dropping the ball. And it's like, yeah, maybe in a week or two he'll throw. And then that afternoon he was throwing. Then I heard, well, yeah, maybe he'll like do it like every other day he'll throw. But then they came back the next day and he was throwing and he was feeling fine. So I don't think there's much of a concern at this point that Manny's not going to be ready for the start of the season. Anybody can have a setback, and clearly the Padres don't want that to happen. But he is well ahead of the game when it comes to what they thought and milestones mileposts he'd need to be at this point to be ready for the season. So,
yeah, and I mean, anybody that doubted him, I mean, obviously it's not opening day yet, but I kind of always had that feeling that the dude grinds hard in his rehab. He always wants to be back on the field. They were talking about that last night on MLB Network as well, about how Manny, continues to just post year in and year out. So that's my main concern. I mean, I think about it all the time. I remember last year in Cactus League when Gavin Lux got hurt and was out for the season. Just health is just such a premium right now. Get these, get Xander and Tatis, these guys, a couple ABs and call it a day, man. Let the kids play. Let the kids play in Cactus League, but it's that anxious, nerve-wracking thing where you just hope everybody gets through the games healthy, both sides.
Yeah, but you also have to be getting ready for the season with a little more purpose than usual, given how quickly Korea will arrive. And remember, it's not just the 20th of March. They're getting on a plane on the 13th of March to head over there, and they'll do some more work when they're there. But you got to figure the bulk of your preparation it's got to be done by the 13th of March. That is 3 weeks from tomorrow?
I think so.
13th of March. I mean, that's not a ton of time. At most, these guys figure are going to get in 8 or 10 spring training games. That's about all they're going to have, the opportunity. So they're going to have to make the most of the at-bats that they're getting in these opportunities, even early here in spring training in these games. Get good work in, get quality work in, stay healthy, and then, be ready to come back the next day and do it again.
Yeah, tomorrow when we come in, it's a Friday. I know Marco just put in the chat, man, he did the podcast with Adam Jones. Yeah, we'll have Paulie. I think Paulie's coming back tomorrow, or do we know yet? We'll figure it out. Anybody else you want to try in the chair for the fourth different producer of the week? Anybody else want to give it a crack? Let us know. Maybe we can give it away on 97.3thefansd.com. Chance to come produce Ben and Woods for the day. That would be fun. Just let some novice come in and start pushing buttons.
We'll have some of the Manny, hopefully audio from Adam Jones. Maybe even Adam Jones is on. I know Paulie reached out just to see if he was available. He's, of course, in Europe, Barcelona, doing his thing. So, but if we can arrange that, we will do that for a Friday to wrap up the week. And then, hopefully Paulie's feeling better at the very least. If he's not, then let him have the day off and get all the way through the weekend.
No doubt.
All right, Andy Nelson coming up next. They got a 2-hour show for you today. Woods is just so jealous as they lead into Padres baseball at 12 o'clock. Thank you to our fearless leader, Adam Klug, coming in very early. Mostly pushed all the right buttons today. Did a very nice job. For Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Thursday from all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.